Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a Dress to the Space 1999's edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Here comes Monster Party down the runway.
Down shake it, shake it,
We're
shake it.
so sexy for our podcast.
Move and groove. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've explored that as far as it'll go. So let's continue on with this. But before we get to the merriment that you might expect from the title of this episode, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am SHAWN SHERIDAN.
I am Larry STROTHE.
And I'm James GONIS.
I guess you could say, at heart, we're all really fashionistas.
Oh, yes. Oh, I
Yeah.
love wearing the latest.
We walk out of the house and, you know, people take notice. They go, what are they wearing today? Is it a different fade of black t-shirt with Monster Party logo?
Right.
What are
Is
they
he
doing
wearing
for
those-
spring?
Is he wearing those angel flight pants again?
See, if you would do that, you would make me the happiest boy in Candyland. I'm telling you. I so want to see that. If we could get some made for you now, maybe we could find the guy who created Angel Flights and get him to do something custom. But the topic is for this episode, future fashion.
Future fashion.
Future fashion.
Fabrics.
Fashion of the future.
What are they wearing in the future?
Sparkly stuff.
Sparkly stuff. Slacks. Flares.
What do you wear in space?
What do you wear in space, Larry?
Right.
I've
What
asked
do
that
you-
question many times. And I would think it would be something practical, but not always.
Spandex.
Spandex.
Velcro.
I think that's practical.
Practical
this-
yet fabulous.
I came this close to wearing my spandex bodysuit for you guys tonight.
Oh my God. You just keep teasing me
Keep
and I can't
threatening us
handle
with
it.
that.
Yes.
But this is a great topic.
It is a great topic because there's so many ways that we can go. And it really is a fun topic because
Yeah.
whether right or wrong or inappropriate or what have you, future fashions are delightful. Like in any incarnation of science fiction, there's usually something in there that I like.
Yeah.
And usually the more outrageous, the better. But speaking of outrageous, we need the perfect guest. We need a fellow fashionista, a guy who he doesn't wear the clothes wear him. Or is it vice versa? I'm not sure. But anyway, our guest for this episode is a longtime friend and past roommate of mine. Yeah. He's an acclaimed screenwriter, author, cartoonist, journalist, actor, improviser, fellow podcaster. Oh my God, what can't he do? He's appeared on numerous episodes of Monster Party and has talked us up on such prestigious platforms as the Huffington Post and on his own podcast, Succotash, the comedy soundcast Soundcast. And Succotash, we all love it. We all listen to it.
We do.
And if you don't know already, Mark also works for the company that came up with the name for the popular alcoholic drink, SEMA, a beverage that I am bathing in as we speak.
Oh my goodness.
Monster Partiers, please welcome back the lovely and talented Mark HERSHON.
Thank you. Thank you, boys. Good to see you. Thanks for having me back for this very special episode of Monster Party.
We couldn't think of anyone else.
I do have to call out one faux pas you made early on as you were
I have made a lot of them.
as you were unveiling the topic of the show.
Yes,
you said people ask you, what are you wearing? And of course, in Hollywood, the question is, who are you wearing?
Oh,
True.
Well, I'm glad that you pointed that out because I think it's a more appropriate question for us. What are you wearing? Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck are you
are
wearing?
you wearing?
Would
Yeah.
really be the full sentence.
That's true.
Point
And with all,
taken.
and with
Point
all due
taken.
respect, Mark, sure, in Hollywood when you're on the red carpet, but
Yes.
the truth is, if you're in outer space on some spaceship,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
Mark.
I think, and I'm working on the outside of the spaceship and I see some gal in some glittery thing. I'm not going to say who are you wearing. It's like, what are you wearing?
All right.
And how does it come off?
It's a dude thing. It's a dude thing. I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Matt, who doesn't think that when we're watching like a classic Star Trek or something?
Right.
Oh, sure. And of course, Star Trek, so many great fashions, and we'll get into that.
Sure.
Can I mention one thing about Zima since you mentioned it?
Please.
Now, I worked on the team that named Zima. I did not name Zima, but you know who did come up with the name of Zima?
Who was that?
It was a young lady who at the time was working part-time for the agency I was with at that time. She was a student at Cal Berkeley, and she went on to become a showrunner on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Battlestar Galactica, none other than Jane Espenson.
Wow.
I'm wondering if you told us this before.
I may have.
That's incredible because that resume alone is just something to behold.
I know, right?
From Zima to Battlestar Galactica.
Yes. So the craft services on those production shoots must have lots of Zima around. Man.
How horrible for them. How horrible.
You drink enough of it, and
it doesn't matter how much you drink.
It was an acquired taste,
Was it ever acquired? Is what I would like to know.
Yeah.
Well, I had a few.
You had a few? I honestly can't remember what it tasted like.
I remember the commercials for it, though. Like these groups of hip young people walking down the street drinking Zima.
Yeah. Public alcoholism. It was fantastic.
Mardi Gras and Zima.
It's a 7-Up, officer. It's a Sprite.
That's right.
Is that what it was?
It was like a lemon limey kind of taste.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they tell the cops when he sees you with the open container.
Yeah.
What's that Zima you're drinking?
No. This is just Rondo.
No, but this is great for our sci-fi drinks episode. But this is about fashion and wardrobe.
True.
Mark, you're the head of fashion. I mean, you're ahead of the game here.
Clearly, look at me. Listeners, look at me. Lean into your headphones and look at me.
Is there like a great science fiction futuristic outfit or something?
And it's horrible. It's horrible.
Okay.
But it's also incredibly iconic.
Okay.
And that is the outfit worn by Mr. Sean Connery in the movie Zardoz.
Sure. Of course.
My list. Red suspenders, red jockstrap, thigh-high, black leather boots.
Okay, I have to correct you. No suspenders.
No, I looked it up. There are suspenders.
Where are the suspenders?
Holding up the jockstrap.
Are they flesh colored?
Really?
No, they're red. They are red.
I thought they were bullet thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought. They were bandoleros.
When I looked it up, they looked like suspenders to me. But maybe they
bandoleros, suspenders.
Maybe they were double.
Your pants up.
Maybe they were double purpose. Maybe they were double.
And there were some slight variations, I thought, in that diper look, though, too. I thought.
Many,
there may have been, but that was kind of the iconic one. If you look up Zardoz, that's the image that pops up. So that for me was like, okay, this is the cream of the crap when it comes to sci-fi outfits.
Somehow,
it served no purpose in terms of protection, surely, except for the jockstrap part. And it was just, it was visually just jarring. It was like, what is happening right now?
Kind of the point, though, right? I mean,
they were the brutals in the radioactive wasteland, and I think it was for them just practical and functional because they just went around shooting people riding horses,
and it was cool.
And
I mean,
it must have been warm too. Like, the climate, the Zardoz climate must have been very favorable.
Yes.
And it's in contrast to the Eternals, who dressed kind of like classic Roman, citizens or something that were
sort
flowing
of Roman,
kind of like
hippie.
Yeah.
So what I love more than anything is you guys are.
And things.
What I love is you guys are defending the Zardoz outfit.
I always
to my
defend
dying
Zardoz.
day.
Sorry, it's I love that film.
I will say this: that the costume designer of Zardoz was Crystal Borman.
That's right,
and she was married to John Borman.
That's right,
and you said something, Mark, I think that was a key word. I mean, you could say ridiculous, but I think you also said jarring.
Yes.
Jarring, yeah.
And if you think about it, in that world, I mean, and we knew Sean Connery, who's the star as James Bond with the tuxedo and everything.
Tuxedo, yeah.
A completely different look. This futuristic, freaky world. And if you think about it, I think the outfits have to be just as freaky.
Yeah, so they said, let's put him in the outfits the women in James Bond end up wearing.
You know what's weird?
That's true.
I saw it for the first
That's
time.
true.
No, when I saw it for the first time, I didn't think, oh, he's a big diaper baby. No, I was like blown away. I went, whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa,
but
that
my question is, what did Sean Connery say the first time he saw it? I mean,
I would guess though that was at a time when Connery so desperately wanted to break out of the James Bond mold that he was willing to do. I mean, come on, I'm sure when he read the script to Zardoz, he was like, "Well, this is different." It's like.
And I bet the
this isn't
first time he saw the
Goldfinger.
diaper, he went, "No,
see,
Yeah.
okay,
fuck no."
you guys were throwing out the word diaper.
where's my
It's-
tuxedo?
Look, it's not really a diaper. It's more like
A
tight
loincloth.
short. It's like
Kind of,
tight
yeah.
shorts. Like it's a thicker
It's not.
Speedo.
Look at it. It's a jock strap. It is a
Well-
red jock strap.
Okay, Mark,
Futuristic
don't
With suspenders.
listen. Don't you ever? Okay, I'm gonna go swimming. Don't you wear Speedos?
Yes, but I do not wear a jock strap.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Mark, you wear a Speedo?
I'm wearing one right now.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, swimming? They're not made
Oh,
for
God, no.
swimming.
No, not for swimming.
Larry, do you wear a Speedo when you swim?
Okay, now let's look. A number of years ago, when I was in better shape, I wore a Speedo.
Did you
Now
really?
since I haven't worked out in a while, so I'm more Pillsbury Doughboy like. So I don't wear a Speedo now, but I'm just saying that Sean Connery in that film, it seemed to fit to me.
It looked good. He could pull it off.
Yeah, if anybody could, he could.
Obviously,
Anybody could. He looked great.
Mark
And
was
then I think what also works for that outfit is the mask. You got the mask and the bandolero thing.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
odd.
Yes.
Somehow it works. And then he's got the cool knee-high boots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're almost witchy poo,
Yeah.
Who didn't want boots that came up to the knee? That was kind
I
of
love that.
badass.
I love that. Man, woman, anything. I love those boots.
Somebody has to walk around San Diego Comic-Con in that cosplay.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and I would keep saying too. And where's the action figure?
I know.
Right?
I mean,
Right?
you don't even necessarily have to get the rights to Connery's likeness. Just make the action figure with the mask on. I mean,
Okay,
Yeah.
but Mark,
Yeah.
that's a futuristic costume that you were not excited. You thought that's dumb. That's ridiculous. Is there a sci-fi outfit that you saw that you went, hey, that's
Yes.
the future?
Yes. And you guys may disagree that it's fashion,
Okay.
but I think it certainly set this character apart from the others in the film, and that was Ripley's power loader in Aliens.
Huh.
interesting.
I don't know if I would
Interesting.
consider that.
That's what I
Yeah.
said. That's what I just said.
I know.
mean-
I'm just saying.
Well,
I
it
think-
also speaks to the connection between clothing and armor.
Yes.
In a way, that could be described as armor, and there's a lot of crossover.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would agree.
I mean,
would agree.
I would say that also, speaking of the costume design in the original Alien, is very practical and very utilitarian.
Yes.
All the characters on the Nostromo, you could see people in those outfits today.
Yeah, they look
know,
like
like-
garbage men.
Yeah,
you know?
or truck drivers in space.
Yeah.
And that's why that movie works so well. There was a shift where suddenly it was like, okay, maybe we don't put everyone in flares. We don't put
Right,
everyone in
right.
sparkly outfits because, it's just not practical when you're working around the ship. And that's what grounded Alien is like. These
Absolutely.
are all guys that I can relate to.
Absolutely. And even that power loader thing was like, it made sense
Yes. Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
thing. It was
yeah.
like that. You can't drive a giant forklift around in a spaceship, but you can wear a forklift in a spaceship.
So cool.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So great.
So
Yeah.
those are I guess that's the best and worst for me so far.
Yeah, okay.
Well, if I could just follow you,
Go.
Anywhere,
just by
Larry,
saying it's-
anywhere.
you guys brought up a really cool thing about the armor
Mhm.
and that kind of thing, but you also brought up Alien, and I just wanted to point out that the guy who was the costume designer for Alien, his name was John Mollo, and people forget about this, but John Mollo was also the guy who did the costume designs for Star Wars. Star Wars was his first official job as the costume designer.
Wow.
And Lucas had picked him because he knew about vintage military stuff. And Lucas approached him and said he wanted his space characters to look. He didn't want you necessarily to remember the costumes. Like, he didn't want sparkly Flash Gordon stuff. He wanted something that was different, but he also wanted, like, Empire it has to be more military. And so what's interesting is Malo combined a bunch of different stuff to create those costumes for Star Wars. And then he carried that thing with the military stuff into Alien with the costumes of the space suits, you know?
I love the Empire costumes.
And he did Empire too. And when he did the costumes, he based them on World War II Nazis.
Yes.
Which I thought was
clearly.
fascinating.
Right.
I mean, yes, it is clear. And what's really hilarious to me is I remember I saw Star Wars as, when it came out. I was so excited when the Academy Awards came on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, those are the best costumes. Who else was nominated? And I don't know if you remember, but the way it was done is they introduced the costume designer and they brought out actors in the outfits of all the movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first one was A Little Night Music with Florence Klotz, who did the designing. The Other Side of Midnight by Irene Sharaff. Airport 77, Edith Head, very famous costume designer.
Should have won.
Julia, Anitha Silbert.
I'm sorry, that should have won.
And then the last one was John Malo for Star Wars. And it's so funny to see all these vintage outfits and then Star Wars, the guys in costumes come out wearing the Stormtrooper outfits, wearing Darth Vader outfit, the Luke Skywalker outfit.
It must have been so different from everything else. Yeah.
So it's like it was like night and day, guys.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it as a kid. And of course, and the winner is John Malo. John Malo was way in the back. No one expected him to, and he had to go all the way up to the front. And what's funny is he had an amazing team. It's like he didn't design the actual Stormtrooper outfits. There was another guy who did that, but he had a great team of people. And if you look at Star Wars, I mean, to me, it all made sense. You know, Luke and his outfit, being out in the sand.
Well, wait a minute. For personal preference, if there's anything that I love about Star Wars, it's the design of pretty much everything. I've said before, the Stormtrooper armor is maybe one of my favorite things of all time.
So iconic.
I fucking love it. I love Darth Vader. Most of the other costumes I enjoy, but when we got to the prequels and you had young Obi-Wan, to see the main guys of the movie in these robes, that's something that I think is impractical. Like those giant, heavy robes.
What I liked was the counterpoint of the evil empire. Everything was clean and shiny.
Yes, yeah.
And the good people, everything was used and fucked up.
Well, he wanted to create a lived-in look for his universe.
Yeah, which was
he also he combined aspects of like a look of like a monk with samurai influences.
Yes.
But I mean, it was kind of this tapestry of different looks and styles. But the Alien, Alien was 79 after Star Wars. That went further, I think, with the lived-in kind of grungy look. But because Star Wars, because before Star Wars, like you're saying, you think of sci-fi, big spectacle sci-fi. You think of shiny and clean and futuristic and kind of disco-y.
Star Trek and Buck Rogers. And all those, right?
Look at, and we've said it many times. Look at Logan's Run, which was released just a year before Star Wars, and you couldn't be more opposite in the look and style. Logan's Run. Well, but I love the costume design in Logan's Run. I think it's totally cool. It's maybe dated, but I don't mind that. It's very disco-y. The citizens of the Dome City in Logan's Run was all about comfort and very light flowing outfits, short skirts. And Jessica's outfit, Jenny Aguilar's outfit in that, it was literally like there was no side to it.
Well, one of her outfits.
Yeah, one of her outfits. Yeah. But I mean, you had very light, very revealing outfits, but also I didn't realize until I was preparing for this episode, like the Sandmen have that great basic black outfit with like the gray stripe, which is so cool. But I didn't realize, like in the movie, Michael York's when he's hanging out in his pad and he's hanging out with Jessica, he's got that lounge robe on.
Yes.
But the robe is also in the color scheme of the Sandman outfit.
I like that.
It's
I
got
love
the
that.
gray stripes on like the sleeves, so
Yes.
it's really cool. I love the design of Logan's Run, but maybe it's a retro, cliched, futuristic, spacey, silvery sci-fi look, but I still like it.
I didn't see it as disco because when I think of disco, I think of those horrible suits, those polyester suits with the wide lapels. And when I look at a Sandman, the Sandman looks fucking cool with the black and the, as you were saying.
Oh no, I was thinking more like
and then
citizen,
everybody else is just wearing, as you just talked about, very comfortable sheer outfits.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess you could say their bottom half was probably spandex, right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of disco-y, but the thing that always confused me about that movie, so with the clothing, you had an inkling of how old everybody was. So, you know, if you were yellow, you were like a little kid, and then green was a teenager.
Yeah.
Red was older, like I was like 24 to 30 or something like that.
Your time's going to be up soon. Right.
Yes. And so there's a scene in the movie where Jessica is going to meet with the sanctuary cell that she's working with. And she goes to this plaza and they're all sitting at a table and she goes up to it. And there's a woman who is in green. Now, I'm sorry, but this woman had to be in her late 40s. There's no way that she is a teenager. And so that was the kind of thing where it's like, I understand that you want to get really good actors, but how about trying to fit the costuming with the logic of this movie? Like get some, I'm sure there are some younger actors that could have done that role. And I'm like some of the Sandman, like, wow, that guy, it has to be like a character actor from old Westerns. Like, how is he not 30?
And maybe he was a friend of the producer or something.
Maybe.
Right.
But that's the thing that bothered me about that movie is, and then I guess, I mean, even Logan, I could say Michael York looks about 30.
Yeah, he always looked pretty youthful. Yeah.
Yeah. But there were some background people like Sandman. You might want to check his life clock.
Right.
I think you might have overlooked him.
He's got a fake life clock. It's like a fake ID. It's got
right. You're just wearing a sticker. What is that?
Right.
Now, Sean, if I remember correctly, you did cosplay as Logan's
That's
Run,
right. That's how much my wife Gina and I love those costumes so much. For Halloween years ago, we dressed as a Sandman and she was a runner, and we had these costumes custom made. You know,
wow.
And they're awesome. I think we can both fit into our outfits still.
Of course you can.
Of course you guys can.
Yeah.
But
you can fit in your underoos, I bet.
I just like the idea that because the Dome City was so controlled, so like, temperature control, and there's no weird weather, so you could walk around like that all the time, in these and be perfectly fine, like little sandals, and just be happy.
I also like Doc's costume. That was a nice silver.
And Farrah Fawcett's outfit too.
Smock deal. Yeah.
And
Farrah, of course.
Yeah. And the people, of course, in the carousel with those weird robes.
Oh, yes.
The fire look on the like white and red with the weird hockey masks and hoods. Where are those figures?
I know, right? Believe me, if I could lose weight and wear that costume, that would be something I would cosplay.
Okay, Sean, let me go out on a limb here. Okay, so you're gonna do the whole carousel thing, and for folks, if you haven't seen Logan's Run, you gotta check it out. So I'm just about 30, or I'm 30, Sean, and they go, okay, guys, come in the locker room. Here's your little outfit, and I'm like, what? I'm gonna be flying and then be zapped. I don't want to wear this little fire thing. I mean,
it was really obviously it's like a weird ritual that they had to put on
it's like outfit. Everybody does it, and they've been doing it for years, and it's like, okay.
Well, probably the reason for the masks is because, unbeknownst to the citizens of Dome City, when they're up there floating, they're freaking disintegrated. So you don't get to see their looks of anguish and horror when they're being disintegrated because they're wearing
you don't know who's your friend, or like you don't recognize anybody.
See, that's what I thought, Sean. I thought the idea for the mask was so you don't know who people are.
That's true. That's true too. Right. And
as long as
if you don't know who they are, then you could then say, well, maybe they did get renewed because
exactly.
I didn't actually see my friend get blown up by the big power crystal in the ceiling.
Right.
But that's a movie that it's one of those movies, like I was obsessed with it
Me
as
too.
a teenager. I loved it so much. And even after Star Wars, I still loved it. I still had a special place in my heart for it. But it's the kind of movie that you can't really recommend to someone and say, this is a great science fiction movie. It's an oddity. You know, it's dated, but it's
Yeah.
charming.
Did you
Yes.
stop loving it after you turned 30? I'm just curious whether there was any kind of correlation
Psychological.
between your love for the movie.
You know, even at 30, I thought, you know,
Okay.
Sandman,
Alright.
come and get me. I'm ready for Carousel.
right, right.
Obviously,
James-
my best years are behind me.
But James, you were going to say something though about Logan's Run.
Yeah, as long as we're naming some of these costume designers, the costumes for Logan's Run were by Bill Thomas,
Yes.
who had also done the Black Hole.
No.
Also
and
great.
And the Kathy Lee Crosby version of Wonder Woman.
Yes,
from
yeah, the
1974.
TV movie.
Well,
But he did
Yeah.
stuff way back. He did Universal horror films like The Thing That Couldn't Die, The Leech Woman,
Wow.
Touch of Evil. He did. I mean, he did all kinds of stuff.
And if you think about it, those films, and when they're in the 50s and the 60s, and you say, okay, what does it look like in the future? What would people be wearing? What is the design? And I mean, and so these costume designers have to be creative and think, well, what would people wear in the future? What do people wear in space? That's a really challenging thing. And you don't want to make something that's necessarily hokey.
I mean, I've said this before, but a lot of times they think of the future, but it really reflects very often the current time with the hairstyles and
Absolutely.
Space 1999 is a lot closer to Space 1975. But
and also Logan's Run, because let's face it, Farrah Fawcett's hair looks fantastic, and it's very 70s. I mean, when she brushed it, I'm like, but it's a very 70s.
I love that. To this day, feathered hair.
Yeah, me too.
I
Man,
agree.
That is like my Viagra right there. I'm telling
I
you.
mean,
I love that look. I
On a
also-
man or a woman.
Okay,
It doesn't
so look,
matter.
Absolutely.
So-
Yeah,
so look,
Andy Gibb, watch out. If he was still alive,
look to the young listeners out there, they're probably going, wow, that's feathered hair. Look, I get it.
it wasn't
I get
made
it.
of feathers, kids.
Well, no, but it was a special way to make the hair kind of curl and kind of go up, and it was like soft and just sensual. And Farrah's hair looked great, and I hated what happened to her character in that. And where's that figure?
I forget. Hey, you know what? Jenny Agutter, #1. I'll take Jenny Agutter over Farrah Fawcett any day, and she's the one who always gets the oh my god, she's the the hot one of the movie.
I agree.
Jenny Agutter was the one who wore I thought the sexiest outfits.
Let's talk about Jenny Agutter's outfit in Logan's Run. Why didn't your wife, Sean? Why didn't your wife get that outfit, man? That's what I want to know.
Sean.
Okay,
I want to see
get her on that.
Yeah.
If I make that for her, I'm just saying.
Yes. Okay.
I'm sure you said, hey, we had these custom made. Bring that designer over.
Thank you, Bill Thomas.
Get you into a room and go, all right, honey, let's do this.
All right. I'll take pictures and get back to you.
Yeah, and then put her on the circuit.
It's funny you guys were mentioning like these first time costume designers, their first big film, and it's like these iconic looks they do. And I wonder if it's like part of the element of them becoming like their first big chance. They really kind of blow it out, right? Because I was thinking of the look in Blade Runner.
Sure.
Right? Deckard's trench coat and all the other looks. And Michael Kaplan, who was the costume designer for that, it was his first big theatrical movie.
Wow.
So it's just kind of interesting. These guys kind of go all out.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're getting their big shot.
And it's pitch perfect. And you guys were talking about how the fashion reflects the time that it was made. And yes, there is a bit of that in Blade Runner with the sort of the punk aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that's what makes that movie work, is that there's a blending of a bunch of different styles that makes it an alternate future as opposed to the future.
Yeah, well, it's
a lot of retro, vintage, Art Deco type stuff.
Absolutely. It's like old Hollywood film noir meets cyberpunk.
Right. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's really what it is.
Yes. And Sean, I'll go out on a limb here. To me, when I see that film, it doesn't look dated.
No.
It looks like that is something people would wear.
And the costumes reflected the art design and set design, because in the movie it's old LA built with layers of futuristic stuff built on top of
So,
old built-
so the
and
people and what
costume.
they're wearing, it's exactly what the city is, which is really interesting.
Like you said, Matt, it's kind of an aesthetically perfect film.
That was summer of '82, and there was another sci-fi movie that came out that summer where the fashions were definitely set in the '80s, and I'm speaking of Megaforce.
Yes, you're right.
Oh,
What a contrast!
Barry Bostwick, speaking of feathered hair,
Yes,
dressed up like an extra from the Olivia Newton-John physical video
absolutely.
with a bandana.
Which I love.
And they
You're-
put
you're right, though.
Henry Silva in an F Troop uniform. But some of what they had, the men wearing in that, it's just a skin tight spandex.
Well, if you look it up, there was no credited costume designer on Megaforce.
Really?
It says that the costumes were designed by Mattel.
Oh my gosh! Wow,
Yes.
interesting.
Hey,
So
look,
they just looked at the toys and said, "Yeah, make this a coat." Just do
Look.
this.
look, okay, let's just be frank here, okay? If you've got a really good physique and you're a dude and you're wearing spandex to kind of show off your body, you know, it's a little something for the ladies out there. And for the guys
Just the ladies.
Just guys to aspire to be that. I mean, I wanted to be Barry Bostwick. I wanted hair and
Really?
spandex like that. Yeah.
You know who I wanted to be? I wanted to be Max.
Oh,
sure.
I like leather.
Wait, okay.
Leather
Look,
guy.
you can't jump like that just when we can't. We're just talking about Megaforce here.
Well, we can jump because
jump all around.
they're sort of thematically similar.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, how much more can we talk about Megaforce anyway, right?
Right.
We should devote an
Okay.
entire show to Megaforce.
Okay, so
We're saving that for our Megaforce episode.
okay, so for listeners who are, what's this Matt's talking about? We're talking about
What?
from 1981,
What's this,
the
Matt?
Road Warrior, directed by George Miller,
Yeah.
and you have this apocalyptic world where the costume designer was Norma Morso, and talk about if your society is we have no more fuel, you know, people like trying to scrap to survive and stuff. There's some people that wear leather outfits to kind of protect themselves, and others who are maybe a little tougher and stronger, they wear certain outfits to kind of advertise that they're a badass.
Yeah, like
and
the
they're-
humongous.
Yeah.
Which is a great example. And
Yes.
it's funny, my brother at the time, my older brother who was playing professional football at the time, I went to go visit him. You know, I'm like a little scrawny guy, and I'm like, oh, Roadrunner's the greatest. And he introduces me to this guy who's a defensive tackle. He's really big, strong stuff. And he said, yeah, I saw that movie Road Warrior. I thought it was stupid. I went, stupid? It was great. You're an idiot. Because those costumes work for... And my brother, like, his eyes popped out. He goes, he just called this guy who's like a monster. He just called him an idiot. And all he did, this big dude looked at me and just started laughing. He started like, I like your brother. Because I called him an idiot. No one would call him an idiot, but
Right.
me, this scrawny little guy.
I wouldn't depend on that tactic.
No.
Yeah.
But the point that I was trying to make is I was trying to explain to him. He goes, well, why would there wear football pads? It's like, because it's scraps from society.
right. Using what was
Yes.
left. Yeah.
Yes.
It's
And
like
it's protective too. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Well, I had like that kind of post-apocalyptic punk aspect to it, you know,
Yeah.
which
Right.
so many films copied later, and some to an extreme. Like Tank Girl actually has some great, very punkish kind
Yeah,
of like looks to it. Extreme, more colorful, but it's that idea of like reusing and repurposing weird elements of a costume and outfit to its own purpose, you know.
But Sean, when you compare Mad Max and the Road Warrior to a lot of the Italian knockoffs that they did later, where they copied that style
To a point, yeah.
Those latter ones were often a little ridiculous.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas the Road Warrior
Was
did
functional.
it perfectly.
You're right.
It was kind of ridiculous, but it was because you've got a big, strong guy wearing this or an intimidating person. It's horrifying. Like it's really scary. The humongous is terrifying. He's wearing nothing but like some shorts, and he's got boots, and he's got this mask, and then he's got this pumping vein in the back.
Yeah, he just looks like a violent lunatic.
Yeah, and that's it too.
Yeah,
that's the look I often go for. I go for that, the violent lunatic look.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
making
true. But
costumes
you're,
for everybody at the end of
but,
this.
but you're right, because like the much cheaper Italian ripoffs in the 80s of like the Road Warrior and Escape from New York, they just grabbed anything they could. I'm sure they reused some of the costumes in other movies. It's
They
just they
didn't
slapped
get it
something together.
exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
but
like they
yeah,
didn't
but you see
understand
that
it entirely.
right. But that's how much influence the Mad Max films had, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
On
It's,
the look.
it's like here was something that worked that people
Yeah.
thought was great, and so all these other films they just tried to copy it. And you're right, Matt. There's just something about that just didn't click. It just seemed like it was like a cheap
Yes.
imitation. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But leather always works for me. And speaking of leather, can we all agree that a cat suit always works?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
You're right.
From
Which cat suit do you want to
Catwoman
talk about?
to Emma
Trinity.
Peel.
Trinity in
Yes,
Matrix.
Matrix.
Yes.
Oh,
Hugely
Always good.
influential. Yeah.
Always good. Now, as much as I love a cat suit, would I want my wife to walk around in a cat suit out in public? Probably not.
yes. Well,
You would, yes, and I salute you. But,
she's a lovely lady.
but it might cause some trouble for me and her.
That is true. Yes.
But if she's on a mission,
Right.
then it all
Right.
makes sense because you have to wear the cat suit because it's
Right.
leather, it's protective. And by the way, the 60s Avengers series with Diana Rigg and Patrick McNee.
Yep.
Talk about fashion. Because it's not really the future, but it is science fiction.
It's almost like an alternate reality in a way.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that really reflected all that swinging 60s fashion. I mean,
Totally.
when Emma Peel was not wearing the catsuit, she was wearing all these other crazy outfits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Civilian life. And she had that dress with it was white and it had the black stripes. And then she wore the cap that had the little black
Yeah.
part on top.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just adorable. And
Yeah.
and
She could pull it off any
she can
look.
pull off any, yeah. But I do have a really soft spot for that swinging 60s fashion. I just love it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then with that show, Patrick McNee. Now, from what I understand, Pierre Cardin designed the suits.
Wow.
Oh,
Really?
okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Wow.
And Patrick McNee, he's one of those guys who really could wear a suit. Like you look at some of those suits with the bowler hat, you think, that might look a little silly on someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when they did the remake and you had Ralph Fiennes in it, it wasn't quite right. But
the
he
same.
looks so dignified and cool and
know.
at ease in those suits. From a fashion standpoint alone, you have to watch those Avengers series. And I would say even the ones that are post-Emma Peel. The Tara King episodes are also fun when it comes to fashion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
No,
and by the way, just to give some props to some costume designers, it wasn't just Pierre Cardin. There was also costumes designed by Jackie Jackson
Yeah.
and Anne Gainsford. And I'm telling you, that team, the fun they must have had.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's just from a fashion standpoint alone, it's a fascinating show to watch.
Well, it's interesting when they bring classic fashion designers into productions like Bill Blass,
Yeah.
Christian Dior. They have these people do these specific types of looks that only they can really conjure up
Yes.
because of their taste. And it really does make a very trademarked look for the film
Mhm.
that's kind of timeless in a lot of ways, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of which, I'd like to mention that we brought up Space 1999, but as far as famous fashion designers, Space 1999, that was pretty much a follow-up series by Jerry and Sylvia Anderson to UFO. And the UFO had some really cool, sleek, slightly kind of mod futuristic outfits. And they were all designed by Sylvia Anderson herself in UFO.
With help from Kim Martin, Gene Fairley, Iris Richards. But yes, Sylvia Anderson had a pivotal role in a lot of the costumes in the Super Marionation shows too.
The universe, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Space 1999, this I did not know until I was researching for the show, but they were trying to figure out who was going to design the costuming. And Barbara Bain, who came from a career of modeling before she got into acting, actually was good friends with Rudi Gernrich, the Austrian fashion designer. He was famous for designing all kinds of 60s fashions, and he created the monokini, which is basically a topless bikini, which was very scandalous at the time. And he designed all these very unique and very kind of outrageous looks, and they brought him in to design the outfits for Moonbase. And the the importance of it, because in the credits of every opening of the first season of Space 1989, it says Moon City Costumes by Rudy Gernrich. They're unisex costumes. This is the first season. Unisex outfits with color-coded sleeves to determine rank, and the flare pants, and it just works somehow. I think they look so
I do like it.
cool.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in the second season, it was a different person who designed the outfits, and they were more colorful, and they kind of puffy jackets, and they weren't bad.
They were
just different. But the original costumes, the first season to me of Space 1989 are great. They're just because they seem very comfortable, but also functional, and they're good for action oriented, activity as well.
Yeah.
They're really great. It goes well with the aesthetics of that show too. Like we said, the production design, the look of the model work, everything comes together so well. So yeah, that was interesting. They brought in a kind of well-known and renowned fashion designer to do the costumes for the show.
So you have those costumes from Space 1999. I think the costumes for Star Trek: The Motion Picture feel kind of like those costumes.
Oh my God,
There's
Matt!
a
I was
similarity,
gonna say, Matt. To me, the Star Trek: The Motion Picture outfits are like bad versions of the Space 1999
Yes,
outfits.
yes.
It's like a first rough pass at trying to make
Yes.
cool costumes. So William Ware Thies did the original costume design for the iconic original Star Trek series from the 60s with a colorful 60s look, the go-go boots and the short skirts.
Mhm.
And when it came time to make the motion picture in 79, it was Robert Fletcher who designed the outfits, going completely opposite of what they did with the Star Trek 60s show. It was all pastels. They looked so ill-fitting to me. The
Yes.
shirts looked too short. All the actors to me seemed like they weren't comfortable in them.
And it was
they're kind of boring.
drab too.
A lot
It was
of
drab. It
standing,
felt like
a lot of standing. It was like it's
Looking-
good to
yeah.
stand in, but if I'm moving around,
Yeah,
Can you
it just
imagine
didn't work.
a big action scene in those costumes? Like,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what's funny is though they still couldn't avoid putting somebody in a super short skirt because they put Ilea
I
versus
had to do
Zambada,
something, Sean.
most revealing short with these amazing legs on her. But like that, but other than
Beautiful.
that, but Robert Fletcher kind of redeemed himself because he later did the costume designs for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan,
which are most of my favorites.
Yeah, Star Trek 3, Search of Spock, Star Trek
Yeah.
4, and The Last Starfighter. And those all have cool designs. So
yeah.
I don't know, what the reason was. I guess they were just trying so hard to stay away from that
Different
colorful
directors
60s
too.
look, but it just doesn't work. It just makes the whole thing look, like you said, blah.
With the muted vibe, and then you've got these costumes that are also muted. It's like the bad way of everything synchronistically working together. It's amazing that like they were wrong on so many levels of like, okay, we're gonna do this kind of story, we're gonna have this sort of art design, and then we're gonna have these costumes where everything's sort of blue and grayish and I realize that yes, people have been trying to do something with that original Star Trek costume design forever and update it. And I think the Next Generation did a very good job with that. Probably the best when it comes to the color-coded theme.
Right.
Well, yes,
As much as I like the Wrath of Khan costumes,
Yeah.
they seem like an anomaly from the original
Yes.
vision.
Well,
Yeah.
those were all turtlenecks, and even though they look kind of cool, they couldn't be comfortable.
No.
Like every
Yeah,
time I
yeah.
wear a turtleneck, I'm trying to like pull at it. It's like,
Yeah.
But James, later on in the Next Generation, you see an updated version of those costumes and they're missing the turtleneck.
well, that's
True.
cool.
And Matt, the Next Generation costume designer was the same designer of the original 60s TV show. William Ware Thies.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Next Generation designs. I think
I do
they're
too, especially like the third season on.
Yeah, they're
When you
kind
get
of
the
like
collars.
Yeah, I like the collars. I
Yeah.
didn't like the first, like for the first season. To me, it was like the '79 Star Trek: The
a
Motion
little
Picture.
bit. You're right.
Mhm.
It took a
I
while
did
to.
like it when they got the collars, and when Picard is always like pulling his shirt
His
down or
tunic
whatever.
down, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but to me, it made sense. You
Right.
know, I mean, let's face it. Do you really want to walk around in outer space with those kind of outfits?
Well, and they were very
yeah.
uncomfortable, those first season,
first
second
two
season
seasons.
jumpsuit things, because they were one piece.
Yes.
And
Right.
let's face it, guys. I mean, James, you mentioned this about the turtlenecks. Look, man, it's cold in space. I mean, I'd wear
Wait a
a turtle,
minute.
and I'm sure
Well,
when
they
on
probably
the
have a
spaceship-
heater in the ship.
Yeah, it's cold
Mark,
outside too.
Yes, Mark. Yeah, they have a heater. Yes, I'm sure. But look, dude, come on. It's not like, oh, it's really hot in here. I think the turtleneck makes sense because you got all this technical equipment that's creating heat, so we got to keep the bridge cool. So I think having a turtleneck,
I
look,
still like it. I
You
still
could be
like
right.
it. I
You could be
I
right.
just like.
Can't they just have a cardigan? Why can't they have a cardigan? That would keep them warm. It's comfortable.
look, okay, and look, I don't want everyone to like shit all over Star Trek the Motion Picture. Look, I was so
I'm not
excited.
shitting on.
Look, when the film came out, I was so excited to see them, and the costumes I wasn't really crazy about, but it was so great to see them. And when we got to Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, I just loved it because I love those.
I did
costumes
too.
so
I did
much.
too.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
do think though that from the Next Generation on, they've been improving the design of
Yes.
the Starfleet uniforms. And like by the time we got to the final seasons of Deep Space Nine, I love those costumes because
Mhm.
it's a nice mixture of a war uniform mixed with the standard motif of regular Star Trek series. So you had the color-coded undershirts, and then
Right.
you had the gray on top.
There was a utilitarian look to it that was
Yes.
so kind of like wearable. You'd go, yeah, I would.
Yes.
That's what I would wear.
Yeah.
It's not a dress uniform.
Oh, now, okay. We're going to talk about Star Trek. The dress uniform in The Next Generation, that's one that I never really liked too much. In the original series, it was kind of a jacket almost.
Yeah.
And it was shiny, and I liked it. And then we get to The Next Generation, and they're wearing like these, what would you call it? Like a gown or something.
It's
I don't
almost
know
like
what
a
it is.
weird, it's like a weird long tunic, right?
Mhm.
I never cared for that. Guys, anyone?
Well,
No, yeah, I agree.
it's kind of like like Scots with the kilt, kind of a thing. They're just kind of going for a little something more, little regal, I guess.
Right.
Remember
But
the
I also,
skirts?
I also think
Remember
they
the
were meant-
skirts in the first season?
Yes.
yeah.
I think
They wore
those
skirts.
long dress uniforms were made to look like, today's military dress uniforms don't look comfortable. You wear them for
Yeah.
special
True.
occasions,
Yeah.
and you don't wear them on the bridge doing work or whatever.
Right.
It's,
Mhm.
it's supposed to look uncomfortable.
Now, what
It's
about
funny.
civilian though? Because that's one of my favorite things in Star Trek to laugh at is the
Here-
Star Trek civilian attire.
Harcourt Fenton Mudd.
Well, sure,
Harry
yeah,
Mudd had a very comfortable outfit.
he did. He did.
Yeah, it's true.
He's a large man.
He's a large
Yes.
man with a
You know.
fine mustache.
Yes, and
Kind of like a vest, right? It's almost like a
yeah, it was a vest, and he
almost
had
like a
loose-
like a
it-
it's like a
he had
portly it's like a portly Han Solo kind
Yeah, he had a loose shirt, and he had a vest, and he had these kind of baggy trousers. It was very
Oh, and then
comfortable.
Cyrano Jones with that
Yeah.
See,
weird top.
So for listeners, Cyrano Jones, this is the guy who introduces us to the tribble. And what I loved about his outfit is he had all of those great pockets on his
Right.
jacket. And it wasn't just tribble, it was other things. He was
Sure.
a salesman. So
Yeah,
when
he
he
had watches.
travels through outer space and he's trying to, make a living, he's got all these pockets that he can pull out little things. How about this spice water or something like that? But I loved his jacket. I always wanted that jacket so I could have like all kinds of things I could pull out.
But
Hey,
Tribble's in.
here's a-
All the
well,
fashions in the original series, I thought really worked well. And from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sexy lady costumes to anything else, I thought it was a lot of fun, all of it.
How about the Jiffy Pop bikini in the Triskelion episode?
Oh yeah, Gamesters
Oh
of
my God.
Triskelion.
well, let's
Oh
let's
my
discuss
God.
Angelique
this.
Pettyjohn.
Angelique
I mean-
Pettyjohn is
No,
she's
I-
what keeps me going.
My Jiffy was popping when I was watching that.
Ah,
Oh,
nice.
So for listeners, if you don't know, that's a really classic episode, the Gamesters of Triskelion, and the character that they brought up is she has been on the planet. She's born to fight, and
Yeah.
then these little brain creatures who control the planet bet. They bet on who's going to win.
Yeah, and
And
they
the-
capture the Enterprise, some members of the Enterprise crew, and make them
Yes.
battle in this gladiator arena. And she's one of the gladiators, and she's
Yes.
wearing maybe one of the most sexy
Yes.
space costumes ever.
And the cool thing about it is, if you look at some of the other female characters in Star Trek, there's maybe like romance with Captain Kirk. There may not be as much, battle action, but she fights. She's
Yes, she
got
does,
this
yeah.
spear thing. And what's great about her is she has since passed away, but she would go to conventions and she would sign pictures of herself that are both in that outfit and not in that outfit, believe it or not.
Meaning nude.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I got a question for you guys.
What
Knowing
Star
that-
Trek?
Well, knowing that Star Trek does pay a lot of attention to continuity, and that there's also been in the spin-offs some time travel going back and forth, have they ever, even just for one episode, brought back or referenced the Star Trek the Motion Picture costumes?
No, that would be interesting.
It would be
Yeah.
I would like to
interesting.
see that.
Yeah, because it's in the time frame of
Yeah.
history of that.
Yeah,
so
but
that- you're
apparently
right.
not canon.
Yeah, I mean, were they
Well,
they're
now
embarrassed
they
that
say
it
that
is.
Lower Decks is canon, which is absurd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's a cartoon, everybody.
But I
So
will
what?
they had-
So all the
they had
SNL sketches are now canon too?
They had that
Right.
great DS9 episode where they go back to the original
Yes.
Kerbal episode.
Yeah.
That was great. And
Yeah, they
whole thing
inserted
about
the characters into that show.
why the
yeah.
Klingons look different now, and we
Right,
don't talk
right.
about that. That was
Super
great.
fun.
But
Super
I will
funny.
say,
But-
I will say this, James. One of my favorite costumes. So when you have to create a costume for an alien who's from a different planet, he's not going to be wearing a jumpsuit. But some of the designs that they had for some of the aliens that would come on were pretty neat. And one of my favorites is the Andorian outfit.
Yeah,
The
me too.
Andorian
Me
outfit.
too.
It's a great episode, Journey to Babel, where they have to take all of these aliens from all these different planets to talk. Look, we got to figure out how we can run this area of space. And so you have all these different aliens and all these different outfits. And the Andorians have just this really badass outfit. In a way, maybe not that practical, but remember, it's got that chest plate, Matt, with the
Yes.
little things on the shoulders. And in a way, just by being there, wearing that, it's like he looks like he's a badass.
Playmates,
And also-
Playmates did a beautiful figure of that.
Yeah.
Right down to the Reggie Nalder likeness.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And also, they got the blue skin with the antenna, and the outfit is just really, really cool.
Yeah. Talk about a fashionista, Reggie Nalder. Come on.
I don't know if we're going to move on from Star Trek, but before we do, I absolutely have to mention, once again, the civilian costumes. Because in the Next Generation, there seemed to be a theme of like, if you were civilian, you wore it was sort of hippie-ish, a lot of patterns and stuff on it. And there'd be like a V-neck, and it was all super cash, almost like a pajama kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
I like how people on planets wore the same outfit. It's not like they had different countries and continents or anything.
Yeah,
if you came
you're
from
right.
a planet, your outfit was always like
That's true,
everyone
that's
else from the
true.
planet.
Yeah, where's the band t-shirt?
Well,
yeah.
See, no, Matt, see, you brought up something. One of my issues with the Next Generation was Wesley's outfit. Wesley
I
Crusher.
agree.
Now, he's the teenager, and it's not so much that I didn't like Wesley. It's like I didn't like he had the little rainbow shirt, and it's like he should be wearing his, the Rockets or something, something about his T-shirt, his favorite band or something.
Disco Such.
No, no, he wouldn't, because I'm sure Disco would have had like retro thing, but it's like it just seemed like there should be a little design or something else that makes it like a teenager. But I just hated that outfit.
More like the outfits that Star-Lord wears in the
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians movies, right? He's got T-shirts with
that would make more
phrases you
sense.
can't read and
Yeah,
designs.
logos.
If there was a little
That's
something,
great.
even we didn't know what it was, something other than the little rainbow thing, just made him look a little. I don't know, Matt. What it's like you just didn't like him.
Like a child.
Yes, like a child's outfit.
And he wasn't a child. He
But
was
Larry,
a teen. Yes.
Maybe it's because it was regulations of Starfleet. If he's on the ship, he probably couldn't wear that kind
wear
of
a
stuff when he's working, right? I mean, maybe that's what it was.
No, we're talking about two different things. Because when he became an ensign,
right.
The gray one, which was also bad.
Matt, when he was there, he had his little rainbow thing. Remember that? I remember
Yeah, terrible.
I just wanted to beat him up.
I didn't like him. Yeah. I feel sorry for Will Wheaton
Will Wheaton,
because
because Will Wheaton's a talented actor.
I agree.
Oh yeah, and he embraced the
yes.
character, and he's now and he's a huge fan of Star Trek himself.
God love him.
Now.
he
Yeah,
was
love
a
him.
fan back then, and it must have been frustrating for him.
And the character of Wesley did evolve and change.
Yes.
I'm just saying that first couple of seasons, it was like, well, what do we do? And it was irritating. I know Roddenberry wanted to have, he's the really brilliant kid who helps save the ship.
It's
me
like, as a kid.
again, all the time, and then he wears that stupid rainbow thing. It's like, come on.
That first season, if it hadn't been like the first big science fiction show to show that you could make something like this with a big budget and have it not look silly, that first season, it just doesn't hold up. I mean, that's a tough one to go back to.
I mean, maybe if he had remember when Robin Williams wore the rainbow suspenders? maybe if
it was a nod to Mork.
You remember Mork and Mindy, right, James? You remember that?
Of course. No.
There you go. Now, I don't want to move us off of Star Trek because it's obviously and look at James's face. It just lights up.
I know, you're right.
About Star Trek. But I was thinking about movies that are near future movies that try to predict what the near future styles will be like. Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
Where it's set in 2015. The kids wear their jeans with their pockets turned inside out.
The costume design in that one, I don't know if they were trying to purposely just go completely all over the place with it, and it was like a hodgepodge. It was ridiculous.
I think that's what they were trying to say, though.
Yeah,
but that was a projection of that time where there was a mix of fashions.
Yes,
through the early part of the 2000s and into the teens, people were wearing everything from the 70s, 80s, and 90s because they couldn't think of anything new.
Because fashion died.
Really.
So I thought that was funny that they
Back to the Future 2 had it was like a little bit of new wave with punk with everything else. It was like everything of the time mashed together.
Yes.
But the 80s, people for ages have been making fun of 80s fashion. And I will say that when you look back on it, for how ridiculous it could get, that at least it took a position. At least it was something. And when I look at fashion now, it's just kind of blah. It's just nothing unless you're in a band, and then you can have some fun.
Well, it's like you can watch something from the 90s and you can say, oh, wow, that looks pretty 90s. But after the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, there hasn't been anything distinctive about fashion.
I have a question about that, though. Is that really the case, or is it just because of our age and our context?
No.
I mean, because you're right. I can't. Because you're right. I personally can't pinpoint any style or look that screams 2000s to me. But maybe that's just my age. Okay, right. But as far as
still wearing those.
But like you said, you could. We watch them, when you see an 80s fashion or even 90s fashion or 60s or 70s fashion. But I can't really do that with the 2000s. So I don't know if that's just me or not. I don't know.
Yeah, well, so much of the stuff we see is historical, and it's set in the 80s and 90s. Early 2000s,
It's like imploding on itself now, in a way. Yeah, it's weird.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, one of the earliest examples that I can think of when it comes to future fashion, I go right to the movie Things to Come.
Oh, yeah, it's on my list. Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah, because that is a movie where it starts off, I guess, what you would call present day at the time, but then it goes far into the future. And what you get is at one point, fashion evolves to this place where everyone is wearing, I guess you would say, would that be considered Roman, where it's like a toga kind of look?
Tunics and trousers.
Kind of how it looks,
yes. And that was something that you would see in a lot of science fiction magazines, you know, like Galaxy,
pulp sci-fi,
pulp sci-fi, You'd see a lot of the future inhabitants of Earth and other planets. They'd be wearing something like that. And Things to Come, by the way, is a H.G. Wells written movie from 1936, British, directed by William Cameron Menzies. And the costumes were designed by a number of people. You got John Armstrong, you got Renee Hubert, you've got Kathleen Mann, and Sam Williams, who, according to the internet, is uncredited. But, I'm rooting for Sam, and I think he's going to get his recognition someday. I'll bet you he's the one who came up with, hey, what if we had him wear togas? And but yet
Right.
he's not on the list. But that was one as a kid where it's like, oh, that's the future look.
Right.
And anytime you look at an old sci-fi magazine or a pulp or a comic book, at some point someone was going to wear that outfit.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that that's what they saw. And I guess it's a comfort thing, maybe, again, right?
Yeah. It's almost like these kind of general looks are in the zeitgeist of the time, you know?
Yes,
Just,
yeah.
You know, like you said, like that, you can see a pulp sci-fi novel or magazine with like somebody pointing to the future and they're wearing that kind of outfit, that kind of Art Deco kind of toga,
yes. Shoulder pads.
big
Yeah.
bulbous helmets, you know, and it's cool. I mean, but practical.
I
maybe
do
not.
love that. When Raymond Massey comes into the post-apocalyptic village and he's wearing this giant helmet thing.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
Yeah,
like I
very
love
cool.
that. That's what did we ever bring that up in when we did the Patreon spacesuits one? Did
I don't
anybody ever
know.
bring that
I don't know.
up?
You may
Sure.
have. I'm not sure.
But that's a cool
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And if you're not on Patreon, you should get on Patreon and listen to that episode.
Yes, for sure. It's a good
the perfect
companion to this
complement
episode.
to this one.
Yep.
What did the Eloy wear in Time Machine? Wasn't it kind of like
Yep.
it wasn't like a toga,
No.
but it was like loose, like a pant. It was like pajamas.
Almost like a Logan's Run kind of look with
Yeah, it
a
was-
little bit.
Yeah, it was like it was like leggings, and then it was the
Yeah.
tunic thing.
But
Yeah.
it was okay. And then
If
of
I
course
remember correctly.
the Morlocks were fashion plates. They were
Yeah.
They were more Zardoz.
Yeah, right, exactly.
No, that's probably what I would wear now if I were a Morlock. I mean, you know, my pudgy belly hanging out, you know, and you're inside that cave, it's all hot and steamy, it's got probably very humid, you know.
Yeah,
I
get
mean,
that Morlock look going.
well,
That's
yeah,
great, Larry.
look, let's face it, they basically wore like little skirts, okay, little skirt tunic
Yeah, yeah.
things.
Well, I'm looking at the Eloy now, and I guess
No, I'm not talking about the Eloy, I'm talking about the
No.
Morlocks. The people.
Well, right.
You know,
No, yeah, they wore like a tattered skirt thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas the the men wore like short pants, or
But they
sometimes
were like,
they also had like a little bit of that kind of gown thing. The women all
Yeah.
had the gown look, but
Right.
the Morlocks, I could see you as a Morlock, Larry, because there have been times where when we were doing some of our audio commentary, Larry was great. He would come into our studio here, and this is before we were using another studio, and he would set up the studio to make it soundproof, right? And he set up all these things, and he would put soundproof material up on the walls. But it was a big job, and it was a strenuous job. So at one point, Larry would just take off his shirt, which I have no
did.
problem with. You know, clothes are optional here always. But you know, he'd be sweating, and it's like,
disgusting.
well, to me, it wasn't disgusting. It's like, you're doing hard work. You're doing that to be comfortable. And so you're
Yes.
right. That's how I see the Morlocks. Although,
if only I put blue all over myself
yes.
and a blonde
Larry,
wig, you'd go, Morlock.
yes. In fact, the next time that if we do another audio commentary here and you do the same setup, I want you to wear a blonde.
Oh no.
And I'll dress as Yvette Mimieux.
Hey, okay,
Oh, if you would, Sean.
look,
Tease.
really just
What a tease.
look, just on a side note, folks listening at home, you know, when we started to do the commentaries, yeah, it was kind of like caveman-like. But look, we've moved on. Now we're in a real studio.
Now we're doing
it
very well.
the real way. So there's going to be
He
no
keeps all his
more.
clothes on now.
There's going to be no more hanging things for the rafters and getting all sweaty. Those days are gone because
Wow.
we've stepped up in the world.
Nice.
And yet now I go pantsless. Well, with Sean, I followed his lead.
Hey, can I bring up something that I'm surprised Sean hasn't brought up? I've been waiting
Please.
this whole
Okay.
episode.
I know what you're gonna say. Sure.
Oh, then I want you to bring it up. I have it here on my list, but
Well,
it's such a Sean Sheridan
Are
thing.
you talking about the 1979 movie and then series Buck Rogers?
Oh, no, I'm not. But
Oh,
let's talk
okay.
about Buck Rogers.
Yes, Buck Rogers.
Talk about
Buck
it.
Rogers, the movie when it came out in 79, it was obviously Glenn A. Larson who had done Battlestar Galactica. So he does a new version of Buck Rogers, which is very much in the late 70s Star Wars, post-Star Wars kind of vibe to it. And they had actually, in the first pilot/movie, they had some pretty cool outfits for the Earth
Yeah.
Defense uniforms, kind of white with the helmets and look pretty
Mhm.
cool. The Draconians, the alien Draconians,
They
were the
look
bad
great, I
guys.
thought.
They had very samurai-looking helmets.
Mhm.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
And yeah, and it worked pretty well. Now, when they got into the series, Aaron Gray, who was Wilma Deering, who had some
Oh.
nice outfits in the pilot, but I don't think in the first movie, I'm not sure now. I'm trying to remember if she actually wore that iconic spandex form-fitting jumpsuit.
Like
I think
blue? Is that the one?
well, it had there were like different colors. She wore a red one, she wore a blue one.
Okay.
One was even like a two-piece one, kind of partly like a bikini. But I think that was mainly in the TV series.
I don't
That-
remember
that was-
I don't remember that.
That was iconic, though. I mean, Aaron Gray was just stunning.
Sure, yeah.
She often wore that outfit. Now, in the film, you also had Pamela Hensley as
Ugh.
Princess Ardala, who also wore lots of very ornate, revealing outfits.
very
And-
disco like.
Yeah,
No, not disco.
It was a little. Well, it's a
Come
little
on,
bit.
Matt.
What's interesting though is that Battlestar Galactica before it was very much earth tones.
Yes.
Very much
Yes.
more rugged. They had the Egyptian style helmets, very cool. But
More realistic in my
yeah.
but Buck Rogers was much more going for the fantasy escapist fun
Yes.
element. So, especially the series. I mean, every female guest star was decked out in some amazing hot outfit. That show, Buck Rogers, was very much, it was major eye candy for male viewers and for female viewers too, with Buck, I suppose. But like, it
with
was
his
just
camel toe.
yes, exactly. But what's interesting is that the second season of Buck Rogers, they changed everything, and now Wilma was wearing this ridiculous sailor outfit. It's like a little sailor skirt with a little hat.
what was on?
Yeah.
And,
This-
and,
what
and
wa-
Buck's outfits were mostly really bad, and it was wrong. I mean, that second series had a lot of issues, but yeah, they changed the look. And Wilma Deering had now a goofy outfit. I think once in a while she would wear the spandex in the second season, but it was very rare. She mostly wears. She looked like she was like on roller skates doing a fast food diner, serving your food
Yes.
to your car. It was ridiculous.
I
But,
prefer the first season.
What about looks for non-human entities in these? So I'm thinking of like the Predator's bio armor,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you're a costume designer, you're thinking, well, what am I going to do to make a person look like they belong in the future? But when you're dressing an alien or a monster in some way, you've got kind of like 2 generations past that. It's like,
Yeah.
I've got this physical form that's different, and now I've got to give it something that makes sense from a fashion and utilitarian standpoint. Which
Yeah.
is,
And that's Stan Winston.
oh, I
Yes.
think maybe you're right. I
Yes.
think
I
you're
think
right.
so, yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, especially because we are talking about when you have like Alien, which is just a naked creature. But
Right.
then when you're talking about a more sentient or more thinking technological alien, then they're going to have some clothes on. Yeah. What do you give them,
Right.
pants? It's
Well, and they're
a weird
hunters.
thing.
They're like game hunters for the
Yeah.
predators, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to be wearing their version of hunting attire.
Right.
And it's
Right.
it's a little more tribal
Mhm.
Yes.
in the way that it
Yes.
comes off. It's tribal mixed with technology. And I don't know if you've ever gone into like the documentaries about the making of Predator and the road that it took from, idea to film. But
Right.
it was originally Von Damme was going to be the Predator.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, that's right. They even filmed him stuff with
Really?
him.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
had all these ideas for the costume that were just horrible.
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, one of them was like bright red or it was just
Yeah,
like
it just
all
didn't
these
work.
things were just failures. And the way that
Yeah.
they did it, where it's like, don't make it a name. You already got a name with Schwarzenegger. You're fine. You got this guy who is able to bring a suit to life. Kevin Peter Hall, who is no longer with us. But Sean, as I know you're aware, he was also in Without Warning as the Predator-esque alien in that film.
Pretty much without warning.
Pretty
is
much the same
Predator
kind of
on a
thing,
very
yeah.
low budget. Yeah.
But he's brilliant. And that
Yeah.
costume is wonderful. And I remember seeing that in the theater, not really expecting anything. I didn't even really know what it was.
Mhm.
And you initially see the outline of the character because it's in camouflage mode.
Right.
And then you see the outfit. And then for the end, you see the helmet come off. And then
Yeah.
you see what it looks like under that. And it's these pincher teeth, little tentacle things. And so good. Because initially, when you look at the Predator, it just looks like a guy wearing a helmet. And so
Yes.
that helmet could have come off and it could have been just some guy with a ridge like Star Trek.
Right.
No, it's
Right.
this really unique. It's like
Yeah,
they saved all.
dreadlocks. It had dreadlocks.
Yeah, it's so
which is-
Yeah. So
strange.
it's so alien looking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a nice blend of
Yeah.
the familiar with the alien.
Yeah. I
Well, guys,
agree.
we can't leave out Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the
Oh,
Apes series,
yeah.
Oh, for sure.
1968.
Oh.
Yes.
Morton Hack
genius.
Morton Hack was actually nominated for an Oscar for it. And what he created was, I mean, it did speak of the spandex to come a little bit because you had the pantsuits, but they were also comfortable, they were functional, and they were very, very unique. I had never would have imagined anybody wearing anything like that back then. Maybe a little bit of the Nehru outfit, maybe.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
they also had these like leather chest plates and the gorillas on horseback with the big helmets like Aldo or Urko.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah.
Never saw those helmets on anything before. 10-gallon helmet.
So cool though.
And I think it's so hard for people to really understand. If you would look at that movie back, the first Planet of the Apes back then, the 60s, first of all, you're like, they had to deal with, okay, how are we going to make a talking ape work? You know, the makeup, how's that going to work? They managed to pull that off miraculously. But then you're right. It's like, what's a gorilla or ape supposed to wear clothing-wise? Like, what? It could have been anything. And like,
or nothing. It could have been nothing.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
what I was thinking, which is in reality, why is a gorilla wearing a leather costume? You might as well wear a turtleneck.
But somehow when you see them in those suits, it's like it's like, yep, that's what they would wear. It looks like it perfectly belongs, you know?
Yeah. And everything like from the symbols, the ape symbols that they wear.
The different colors, like the orangutans have their color scheme.
Yeah.
The chimps have theirs. And then you've got, the humans. You got Nova and the loincloth or whatever, Taylor. Plus, in beneath, then you've got the mutants. Their whole look.
What about when people come from another time to our time and try to wear what they think is going to fit in? And I'm thinking of two different movies. One is Time After Time, where Jack the Ripper dresses super mod. And H.G. Wells doesn't know what to wear, so he just wears his little tweed suit for like half the film.
Right.
It works.
It does work, but it's still just this kind of funny thing. And then I was thinking of Terminator, where this machine comes back and he kills those first people, Bill Paxton, right? And then he gets the outfit off the motorcycle guy in the bar. And he's wearing that. So it's like, I gotta look cooler or whatever. Who knows what his programming is telling him. But he needs to change costumes so he can, blend in, which is just sort of another interesting thing.
Yeah, and he has a lot of luck finding guys that are the same build and same size as the giant
luck.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Remember, he scans the
he was scanning them. He was scanning them. You're right. That's true.
But you bring up a very good point about that, which is something that you see in a lot of shows and movies. The first thing that comes to mind is Star Trek once again, City on the Edge of Forever, and you have Kirk and Spock going back in time, and all of a sudden they're on the streets, and it's like, what is it, 1930 or something like that? Yeah. And, they're standing out because they're wearing these bright outfits, these Starfleet outfits. So then they just grab some clothes off a clothesline and they fit perfectly.
Right.
Those are good tricorders, man.
I guess, because I know that whatever I got from that line was not going to fit. I'd be wearing, some children's shorts, and
which would have been hilarious, by the way, if they'd done that.
I wonder. Yeah, we should redo that episode.
Larry, what were you? Okay, I'm curious what you were thinking that I was going to say, which was not Buck Rogers.
See, there's a film that you've talked about a lot, and the costumes are incredibly cool.
Oh, okay.
It falls into that Avengers era kind of, because it's from 1965.
Oh,
the costumes from Planet of the Vampires, directed by Mario Bava.
Well,
the costume designer was Gabrielle Mayer, and she also did the costumes for Danger Diabolik.
That's right.
And what's so cool is in Planet of the Vampires, the space people have these leather high-collared outfits that are just so freaking cool.
Oh my God, they're so
not
cool.
really the most practical.
Probably quite uncomfortable in real life for the actors.
Yes, but
it's cold in space.
But it is. But Sean, every time I think of those, I think of you and your wife dressed in those.
Those, oh my God, those would be so cool to cosplay.
And
Yes, for sure.
talk about
You really want to dress Gina, man.
well,
Yeah, what is that about?
well, who doesn't? Come on. And,
True.
but it's like those outfits are so cool because it's also they have the like a
Skull cap, like a leather skull cap. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
it just works.
gloves. I mean, they're such unique space outfits. I think.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, really are. They're kind
I
of
wish I had
dark
one.
and scary because, and it fits with the movie because the movie is a horror sci-fi.
It's a horror
you know,
movie,
and
yeah.
it's
Gothic.
great.
Some people even think it's kind of a takeoff on or
Inspiration for
Alien. Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Italian sci-fi, though, and especially
Yeah,
around
ooh.
that time, was glorious. One of the films I have on my list is Wild Wild Planet,
Oh God, I love that movie.
which is part of the whole Gamma 1 science fiction film series. And I
Yeah.
think that was the first one, right, Sean?
Yes, first and the best. There are 4 of them by Antonio Margheriti, the Italian director.
Yeah, from 1966. And this movie is all about these androids that are miniaturizing world leaders as part of some big conspiracy. And it's crazy, but
It's
there are so
crazy.
many wonderful and sexy costumes all over the place. And
Yeah.
they have their own uniform scheme as well, which carries on into the other movies, which
Yes.
gives you that link to everything else. And I guess the green slime is considered part of that too, right?
No, it's not because that's actually a Japanese American co-production, but
I
it's
thought
so
I thought it was
similar.
Italian too. No?
And maybe part of Italian, but it's not considered part of the
It's not part of that,
Planet
though.
universe. But it might as well be. The ship, the exterior of the space station looks very similar. I think it's also. Is it Gamma 1 or Gamma 4? I don't know. You know, it's very similar.
The
But you can.
Italian actress. in
Yeah, it's
Green
got
Slime,
Luciano
too.
Paluzzi in
Right.
it, right? But you can watch it certainly along with Wild Wild Planet, and it works perfectly fine. Yeah, but it's that's also a great one.
Well, in that vein, Barbarella. the
Of
James
course,
Bond.
I mean Barbarella.
Yeah.
The outfits
Talk
that
about
she-
60s kitschy, campy fishnets awesomeness.
Jane
But
Fonda
creative,
and her
very
Jane
creative.
Fonda and her hottest.
Yes, yeah. I would say that, and I would put Star Crash in the same category.
Oh, Sean.
The costume design of Star Crash is also very Barbarella inspired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. And it's
Caroline
wonderful.
Monroe. Caroline
Yes.
Monroe wears a great outfit, and
Several
yes,
great outfits.
as sexy as that original outfit is, though, it's she can battle.
Yes,
She can fight in that
Yes.
thing.
Agree.
But what I love about Barbarella is that it's not just like, hey, we're gonna put a catsuit on someone or we're gonna put a leather costume. Like there really was some beautiful design.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It was like so
Jacques
different.
Fonterey, I believe, and
Yes.
Paco Rabanne.
Yeah.
Paco
Yeah,
Rabanne.
because talk about guys were just saying earlier about people from one planet all look the same, but Barbarella has a nice variety of all kinds of different
yeah.
looks.
Yeah.
So that kind of works. It's a kind of melting pot of different species and designs.
But
Yeah.
once again, like Blade Runner in a certain way, everything feels like it belongs to that universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's interesting when they have to blend cultures. Have different cultures blended together. I'm thinking like Babylon 5. So you've got all
Oh.
these different cultures that are constantly, and so you have to instantly in just glancing know that they are different societies, even though most of them look very human.
Right.
So that's where the costumes really come into play to separate, one planet from another. And yeah, they do all kind of dress alike from where they're from, but it's sort of part of the aspect of this blending of these cultures. So you can instantly know that guy's from there and that woman's
Right.
from there, and you can call that out.
Yeah.
Right.
'cause
And
there's
you
like
had the Babylon 5 uniforms, which were kind of had a sort of a Starfleet vibe to it, but a little bit more it felt a little bit more like Star Trek Enterprise, like that kind of look.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then all the different aliens, like the Narns, the
Yes.
Centauri, who had like, I guess it would be almost like a French court feel to it.
Yeah, ceremonial, very elaborate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought there was some great costume work in Babylon 5. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that show.
I'm sorry to drag us back to Star Wars, but I wanted to bring up the slave Leia outfit from Return of the Jedi.
I was
God
gonna-
bless
that's on
you.
my
We-
list.
We have
God
to have
bless
it on
you.
the list.
Well, I actually have an anecdote about that because
Do you?
last summer at San Diego Comic-Con, Shag was premiering his new print which had to do with Jabba's barge and that whole scene where
Oh, that's right.
he strangles Jabba. But Slave Leia is not in the print. And then in the Mattel section, they do this whole diorama of that scene, and there's no Slave Leia. Or they do a diorama of Jabba's palace. Slave Leia is missing. So I saw Shag there and I asked him, hey, why isn't Slave Leia in the print? He said, well, Lucasfilm wouldn't allow it. So effectively, the management at Lucasfilm is perhaps wanting to cancel that or pretend it never
That's
happened.
kind of crazy.
Really?
I smell a new digital Return of the Jedi version.
Oh no!
Where Princess Leia is going to be dressed
like in a robe,
some
a
kind
monk's
of
robe.
yeah.
But it makes sense though.
Absolutely.
It totally makes sense.
If they're going to cancel anything, cancel the Ewoks, for God's sake.
Yes, thank you very much.
Well,
redo them with like cool little
digital
spider creatures or something. I don't know. Anything.
digital Ewoks, perhaps.
No,
Do you remember there was a year at Comic-Con, I think it was Comic-Con, where it was Adrienne Curry? From,
Yes.
America's
She
Top
dressed
Model.
up. Yeah, she dressed up.
She dressed up in that, and she looked so great. But then she also took a picture with, I believe it was like 25 other Slave Leias.
Oh, yeah. It was like,
There's this, if you go online, you'll see this picture of all these Slave Leias, and it's just like, that's
Welcome
where
to
I want to
paradise.
go when I die.
Make my screensaver.
That's funny.
It's funny you should bring up the Slave Leia one, because there's another famous female character from like a sci-fi film that everyone thinks of when you first see her in her outfit. Everyone kind of freaks out, and I'm talking about Lilu.
Oh yes,
from The Fifth Element from 1997, directed by Luc Besson. And what's interesting is the costume designer was John Paul Gaultier, and he was also the costume designer for City of Lost Children. But also he designed the costumes for Madonna's Blonde Ambition tour, which included that very controversial cone bra kind of thing.
That's right.
But if you go back to Lilu, and actually all the characters and creatures in The Fifth Element,
their costumes were unbelievable in that.
that movie. Look, is it practical? Not really, but everything looked so amazing. And I'm sure Luc Besson had a lot to do with it, saying
it's Mobius too.
But
it was very much heavy metal.
Like for example, the diva character, that blue outfit, kind of interplanetary skin. It was so bizarre. But then Lilu's outfit, when she's first seen, and it's basically like
bandages
almost.
Mila Jojovic is just
and she's beautiful.
Incredible.
She's beautiful, and I've seen people at Comic-Con, young ladies, try to dress up like that character too.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as the Slave Leia, because the great thing about the Slave Leia is, sometimes Lucasfilm will bring the giant Jabba the Hutt figure that everyone wants to get their picture in front of, And so for the Fifth Element, there's nothing that she would stand in front of.
Right.
But that's a great outfit, and that has filled with great costumes. The Ruby Rod guy and his little outfit, and I mean, it was so bizarre.
Not my favorite character.
No.
He's the one.
But this is what I loved, how that you had the characters on the plane.
Yes.
How they had their uniforms.
Yeah.
You had the people out of the garbage area. You had Ruby Ray and there would be groups of people that were in these different outfits. It's so colorful.
It's like a visual feast. It's so striking.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah. One of my favorite outfits was the guy who tries to break into Bruce Willis's apartment, and he's got that hat that has a picture of the empty hallway. When Bruce Willis looks out the camera of his door, it looks like an empty hall.
That's great. That's great.
Look,
that's
Gary Oldman has a funky thing with this headpiece, and
like a plastic.
It's not really my favorite, but I appreciate everything that was done in that film, because it's one of those films I like to watch because
it's memorable just for visually. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite terrible movies.
Mark,
I agree.
It's funny. Mark brought up Back to the Future 2, how it just seemed it was wrong. I have so much fun with the Fifth Element and all the different costumes.
Yes, it looks great.
Yeah. If you're just like, put your brain on,
put it away.
Put it away. But I would say then, along those lines, the 1980 Flash Gordon also has just
Oh,
incredible
yeah.
costume design.
Oh,
And what I didn't realize till like looking into it, the costume designer was Danilo Donati, and he designed costumes for tons of Fellini movies. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. It's like
It does, yeah.
that movie is like the original Flash Gordon comic strip meets Fellini. That's
I agree.
absolutely what it looks like. And it's incredible. All the costumes in that movie, all the different alien races that are at Ming's palace watching the the ceremonies and all that, they all look so unique. All the stormtrooper type characters, and it's just I mean, it's that also is just if anything else, it's just a visual feast of costume design.
My favorite thing about the movie is the costumes.
Yeah.
And Sean, it's so cool. I liked the Buster Crab versions, but it was like this newer version was like it was an updated Prince Baron. Looks like he had a real forestry Robin Hood-esque outfit. And then the Hawkmen guys. It was just it was like
Ryan Blessed,
God, they looked more realistic. I loved it.
The concept lent itself well to so many different costume designs because it's all these different races and factions on the planet that overseen by Ming. But so you have all these different cultures that you could show. I love it.
It's a great when Flash Gordon first comes, and like you said, they had all the representatives, all the different planets that are all ruled by Ming, and also Ming's outfit. Talk about it just seemed right. It was royal. It had that red.
It's perfect.
He changes too. It's like the wedding outfit is cool. Like he's got so cool.
Gosh, yes, but all of that was just great. I it's funny, Sean, we've talked about this before, how there's some people who poke fun at that film, but I still love it. I liked how it was completely different from Star Wars.
To me,
I don't love it, but I have more. I like it more than I did.
I do love it. I do.
Yeah, me too.
I still think it's a little bit of a slog, but it looks beautiful.
And Sean, there's been a resurgence of that film. People rediscovering it
because it didn't do well. It did not do well when it came out, and it was like an answer to all the Star Wars copycats. It's to go completely in the opposite direction, and I thought it was really refreshing.
I appreciate it for that. Yes,
with rock music, Queen.
That's right.
But the costumes.
Don't ever do that again, Larry.
Yes, please. Well, what about Dune? The 1984
is on my list as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Those costumes are amazing and credited to Bob Ringwood, who also did a lot of other costume work on a lot of genre things. Star Trek, Alien Resurrection, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Shadow. And whether you like these movies or not, some of the costume stuff in these films is really the best part. I mean, he was a costume designer on, come on, folks, Solar Babies. Who doesn't love the costumes from Solar Babies?
So just like in Flash Gordon, he was like, okay, we're not going to go for function as much for looking really cool. And the costumes for Dune look really cool. Yes. They're not all that functional until you get to Arrakis and they're wearing the water costume.
It's still suits. Moisture preserving still suits, which take all the bodily fluids and turn it into water for you to survive in the desert. Right.
And and they look comfortable. But until then, if they're all wearing these military uniforms, all the buttoned up all the way up to the chin, it's like, dude, relax.
It looks like something from a monarchy.
Yes, royalty.
And it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say that the newer version of Dune 2 also does a good job with those costumes.
It's good. Yeah. No, I like it.
Beautiful.
I prefer the 84 version because it's prettier.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Everything that they're doing with the new ones, I think is great. I think there's just something so beautiful about that costume work in the 84 Dune. I mean, Sting's costume, forget about it.
Sting's Speedo, he's wearing this weird like eagle wing Speedo that has zero functionality.
Shut your mouth, James.
Okay, does anyone have that?
I'm wearing it right now.
Talk about cosplay
right now.
My gosh.
What about a movie where the costume design is part of what the characters are? And I'm thinking about The Running Man, where they've got all the characters that are the hunters, And they all have very
Yeah.
distinctive, stupid-looking costumes.
Yeah, but it works in that kind of garish
does.
reality
It does,
TV
but
of the
like
future way.
James Brown is Fireball with the whole kind of goggles
That's
and
right.
stuff. And
That's right.
those were great costumes. There's the one that what's his name? He's wearing. He's playing Captain somebody, and it's all metal and stuff, and it doesn't even
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And he just like
yeah,
he
that's
just
right.
throws it down and says, "I'm not going to wear this anymore."
Yeah, that's a fun movie. I enjoy that.
That's another example of a movie that when I saw it, I was really disappointed, and now I accept it for what it is. But
Yeah.
back then, I mean,
Yes.
I had loved the novel, the Stephen King novel, and
Yeah.
it was very,
Right.
very, very different, completely serious. And
Yes,
yeah.
but the casting of Richard Dawson and he always
Yeah.
hated
Genius.
it for
Yeah,
years
genius.
afterwards. It was such a genius casting movie.
It was absolutely.
Well, yeah, I know you guys aren't big Doctor Who fans, but
Well, don't speak for
there's
yourself.
so many great costumes in that show.
Oh, yes, for
over
sure.
the years. One of my favorites is the Time Lord.
Oh yeah.
And they have a royalty aspect to them that is beautiful. They these really outrageous collars, and they were designed by James Akeson and Joan Ellicott.
Well, also the trademark idea that every Doctor Who is distinctly different.
Yeah.
You think usually you want to create a continuity, right, between these characters, but they
Right.
make them very distinctive.
But sometimes there's subtle continuities. But yeah, you're right. They all kind of, and they work also with the actor too, who's playing him at the time too.
I
Right.
think probably the least popular would be the Colin Baker one.
Mm.
where
Probably
it's-
just yeah.
It's sort of like it's a bunch of different fabrics all stitched together into a suit. And whether you feel that it was right for Doctor Who, I do kind of think that the outfit is cool just for what it is. Because it's so outrageous that it stands out.
Right.
And it
And
does, I think it does fit that Doctor.
Yes.
the most popular one would have to be the Tom Baker.
Tom Baker,
Yes.
yeah, with the scarf
With
and
the
the
scarf.
hat. And right,
Yep.
yeah.
For sure.
But there was always, it seemed like there was always something. There was always a distinctive one item of the costume that made it, the trademark. And I think for Peter Davidson, it was he had the little piece of celery on his suit, which was funny.
What's that all about? I thought that was dumb. Celery. He's got what?
He's
Celery?
got a reason for it. I think it was something that you could tell if he went to a certain atmosphere, if the celery did something.
Yeah,
I forget exactly what
something.
the
It's just a
explanation was. But it's just fun. Have a
So
little fun with
quirky
it.
detail.
I don't think that was fun.
Why?
Yeah, what
well, you don't
about-
like Doctor Who, so
Celery. No,
What about
you
vegetables
don't
in these
because
movies?
you don't understand it. Like
What
a
about-
lot of things, you don't understand Doctor Who,
you know what? We'll save that for our Doctor Who episode.
which is never going to happen.
No, it'll happen. Listeners, you just stand by. This is going to be exciting.
Stand by.
I would need you to watch more than one episode,
Right.
and that goes for you too, James.
I watched like 3. So
Oh well, hey,
Wow.
we're
You're up
ready
there.
for that episode then.
But we're talking about wardrobe here. Wardrobe, sci-fi wardrobe.
just a couple of quick mentions to some kaiju aliens.
I was about to go there.
I knew you were going to bring these up, James.
Well,
of course.
the aliens from Godzilla versus Monster Zero, who are
Yay!
the
Yes.
Exians,
So great.
and they are one thing. They're like the coolest aliens because they're all wearing these big black wraparound sunglasses.
Yeah.
And
Which,
And they-
by the way, those sunglasses were called girl watchers. And I
Really?
No.
Yes, they're from the 60s, and my brother bought a pair and then I got them. And yeah, they were called girl watchers because they had this little slit. And you put them on and no one could tell where your eyes were going. I guess regular sunglasses would do that too, but
So it was like the equivalent of the newspaper with the eye holes in them on the bench.
talk about a turtleneck. These costumes, they were black and gray, and they were made out of vinyl, and they had
Yeah.
these huge turtlenecks around these huge gaping holes around the heads, and a helmet with a single antenna going straight up the top. And also in Destroy All Monsters, the Keelak alien race,
Mhm.
who are wearing these silver lame with hoods, a little bit like the mutants in Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
yes,
a little bit. You're right.
I don't like those as much as the Exians.
Yeah.
No, the Exians.
The Exians are
and-
perfect. And then when
Yeah.
Kumi Mizuno was in it,
My God, she
Oh,
can
yeah.
rock an Exian outfit.
yes,
like
she
nobody
can. Yes, she can. I want to cosplay as that. Like if I could,
That
if there was
so cool.
something of like, hey, you have to cosplay as something and get started on it now,
Right,
I think that would be it.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
What about the Droog outfits in Clockwork Orange?
On my
Yes.
list.
Yes.
Well, that
yes.
movie too, all of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just that very distinctive bowler cap and the white shirt and vest and the
And the
pants
cod
and
on
the
the cod piece.
yes,
The cod
and the,
piece,
and the
right.
black
What,
And, you know, that
boots.
was,
who wears
And the
that?
eyeball.
What is
Yeah.
that?
It's so bizarre. And you know, that was Milena Canonero was the costume design, and she worked on a lot of Kubrick films. She did Barry Lyndon and The Shining. She also did like the Godfather movies.
Oh, wow.
But so unique. I mean, you see that, you know immediately what it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's like no costume like those anywhere.
And Clockwork Orange was her first film.
Wow.
Again, these first films that are so distinctive for these designers, it kind of makes their career.
Yeah.
And they carry on after that. And whether they do something phenomenal again or not is almost immaterial. They've kind of made their mark, and then they just kind of get hired after that.
Yeah.
Well, with the Droog costume, I think what makes it so effective is that there's this evil clown quality, especially with the masks that they wear.
You're right.
Yes.
That is terrifying. There's almost a silliness to the costume. And then you have these guys wearing that and doing these horrific acts.
Yeah.
And it just works.
Even just putting them in all white, you know, because you normally think, you know, the hero is always in white.
Yes.
You know, anybody else could put them in all black. I mean, look really scared, but no, they're not. You're right. They look like kind of like fun clowns.
Yeah, they're wearing a
beat the
bowler
shit out of
cap
you.
and they've got the mascara thing on their eye and all that stuff. And
So disturbing.
And one thing is that Droog look has gone on to influence a lot of other things, especially a punk band. I don't know if you guys remember a band called the Addicts, and they were, 1975 punk band, and they did the bowler hats. When you looked at them, you went, okay, yeah, someone saw Clockwork Orange and they really liked it.
Right.
That's a great band too, by the way.
Yeah, just a note about Milena Canonero. In 1990, she did Dick Tracy, the Warren Beatty movie. And I walked into a Bloomingdale's, which is a high-end department store in New York, and they were selling the Dick Tracy hats and raincoat.
Really?
Bright yellow. And
Wow.
it was, at the time, it was pricey. It was about $80. And I looked at it and I thought, you know what? It's kind of cool, but who the hell is ever going to buy this and wear it? And why?
You're right.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
No. But of course, if I did, now I'd have it for cosplay. I'd do like a fake Dick Tracy nose. It'd be a whole different story.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the look of that movie was great. You know, it really did capture the comic book feel really well.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of gangs and costumes, how about the Warriors?
I was just going to mention the Warriors too. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it counts as sci-fi or it's near future or alternate future where people dress in again, very distinctive costumes to individualize and yet unite each of the different groups. It's super interesting, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the most famous, ridiculous one, the guys who are in baseball uniforms with face paint.
Yes, the baseball Furies.
And I'm sorry, but you're going to get your ass kicked. All the rest of the gangs are going to gang up to get you eventually.
Yeah.
But they're carrying bats. They're the only ones who are actually carrying their unconcealed weapon, a Louisville Slugger, you know?
They could go up against the badminton thugs.
and the wiffle ball warriors.
And the pickleball princes.
There you go.
The lawn bowling bombers.
Strike, you're out. Well, I think though, we kind of glossed over, but I mean, with 1999's The Matrix, you forget how influential though the costume design and look of that movie and series of movies were. I mean, that cyberpunk meets goth kind of look was so cool, still is so cool. I mean, and it filtered into actual real fashion design, and I mean, it's really cool. Kim Barrett was the designer on that, and she did other Wachowski brother movies, and she did the Shang-Chi, the MCU film, and the first Aquaman film. I mean, but yeah, Matrix another one with the sunglasses and the long.
It took me forever to find a pair of sunglasses like Lawrence Fishburne had in there, where there were no temple pieces and it clipped onto your nose. I finally found a pair. They're just not practical. Because they would, as soon as you like wrinkled up your nose, they pop off. But they look so cool because they just kind of like cling to your face.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, really, really cool.
My brother-in-law and friend of the show, Derek Robertson, one of the co-creators of The Boys, also did a comic called Transmetropolitan and had a character who's like a gonzo journalist named Spider Jerusalem. And his costume is he's wearing these shorts and he's tattooed all over the place and he has a bald head and he has these very distinctive glasses that like one of the lenses, I think it's red and then the other one's green, but the other lens is sort of turned on its side and really cool. And there was for a while you could get them.
Yeah, well, Todd Rundgren, I remember Todd Rundgren had a pair like that he either had on his album cover or something, and one of the lenses was turned this way.
Yeah.
And then the other one was like horizontal. It was pretty, no, it was oval. One was oval and one was like rectangular.
Oh, that's
really
cool.
Bizarre. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we could go on and and try on all these different outfits and we could go on and on. But
we could do that scene in every movie where I'm going into the dressing room and coming out and you guys
the montage, the dressing montage.
But this has been fun. What do you guys say we do like a little lightning round? Throw out some titles, some great sci-fi costumes.
Go for it, anybody.
How about the dark, weird sort of workman's boiler suits and goggles from Brazil?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you know what I like? These were practical costumes. They were trying to be realistic. What would spacemen really wear? In 1950s Destination Moon, you had them wearing what they thought would be real spacesuits. Really thick. They did the color coordination thing, but still, for the 1950, I thought that was great. And I still love those. I would love to have one of those. It'd be so awesome.
Well, I think we should mention Tron and Tron Legacy.
Oh, yes. Sure. Yeah. Less Tron Legacy.
Yeah. Well, but I like the outfits in those too, though, because they're a little more, I mean, they're less like video gamey looking, but the neon looks like like you just got a futuristic rave club,
Yeah.
They're awesome.
The originals are terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of you, Sean, when I think of rave. Definitely.
Yeah. Also, Matt, I think we have to mention Cat from Red Dwarf.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have, in Red Dwarf, you have this evolved cat. He is the last of the cat race. And he is a human cat. So he has all the characteristics of a cat and very much into keeping clean and fashionable and
narcissistic. He's like the ultimate narcissistic.
Complete
character.
Narcissist. Yeah. Only cares about himself. And he considers himself this fashion plate, but the fashions are outrageous.
Like really crazy.
Vinyl and weird collars, but very cool and very imaginative.
And just a couple more, I would say the Hunger Games series, the way the rich is always presented in the most garish, crazy.
My wife brought that up.
Yeah, crazy outfits. And also, I would say very classic Old West inspired would be the Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of Western, but then you have kind of like the more tech guns and spaceship, but it's very much like earthy tones, kind of like Old West kind of look to it, but it's in space.
And talk about Westerns. How about James West's spring-loaded pistol thing that he had in his sleeve that would pop the gun into his hand?
Absolutely.
I've been watching a lot of those recently because they're on Pluto.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been going through them and I turned Carrie onto it because initially I showed her some and she thought it was just going to be a Western show.
Oh.
I go, no. This is James Bond in the Old West.
Yes, exactly.
And lots of science fiction.
It gets crazier as it goes on.
Crazier and crazier. But one of the things that I didn't remember was how often James West took his shirt off.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Well,
He
yeah.
was the
And he
James
looked
Kirk
great.
of
He
the
was
Wild
tan.
West.
Robert
What?
Conrad was like the Shatner of the show. I mean,
Yeah.
He looked fantastic. He was in better shape than Shatner
Oh, yeah.
ever
for sure.
was.
Oh, for sure. Well, he did most of his own stunts, and
That's right.
and he had most of his friends as stuntmen on that show. And that was a very stunt heavy show.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was really good at the stunts until he did one where he had to, I think he had to jump or fall from something, and he injured himself. And then so from that point on, he was able to do like the basic fight scenes, but anything big like that, they were like, nah, you can't.
And I loved how they had Ross Martin always in different costumes, but they always wanted the viewer to make sure they knew it was Ross Martin.
It was Ross Martin.
It was,
yeah, nobody else.
It was never a great costume.
Yeah.
You could always tell it was him.
Right.
Especially when he's supposed to replace somebody else.
Yes,
I always love those. Like,
Yes.
hey, wait a minute, you're not Al. I know what Al looks like. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I mean, I have to bring up anything from Japan. I mean, I don't even know where to start.
Oh, God.
Any tokusatsu show from Ultraman to Kamen Rider. I'm not just talking about like monster suits. I'm talking about like, the Science Patrol from Ultraman. They had these great orange uniforms that were so of the time. Again, that sort of 60s mod look, but had a functional quality to them. And then from that show on, every different incarnation of Ultraman had a variation on the theme. And by the time you got to shows like Ultraman Taro and any other show after that, they got ridiculous to how many different flaps and pockets and there was a fin that stood out, and then the cars and everything else reflected that. So I love it. And then Kamen Rider, the same kind of thing too, is it was always like a variation on the theme. The level of imagination that went into a lot of this stuff, James, right? I mean, so many crazy costumes. And I thought that some of the Kamen Rider ones were crazy, where they had like one villain was like, he was called TV Fly. And it's literally a merging of a fly with a TV set. And he's got a TV set head, and then the two TV screens are like the big fly eyes. Ridiculous and wonderful. And I thought that was crazy until you get to like the Super Sentai shows that the Power Rangers came from. And you'd see some of these guys where, like all of a sudden here comes deck of playing cards, man. And he's it's like, a bowl of soup, alien. And I just love it. And every time I think it's like, okay, I've seen everything. And then you go, oh my God, here comes Starfish Hitler.
the workforce behind all these, like the warehouses in Japan that must have been churning out these thousands of workers making these costumes. I mean, it's crazy. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so good.
Got a couple of comedies. Sleeper, Woody Allen's Sleeper. Especially that blow up outfit that he goes flying in. It's a costume, but it's also, I guess, a prop. But it works. And the robot outfit, like the tuxedo, and the outfits that the women wear at the party. These were all Joel Schumacher. He was a costume designer before he became a director.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know
my
this.
gosh, that's amazing.
He also did Woody Allen's interiors.
Wow.
Your favorite movie.
Jeez.
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs. Sure.
Yeah, Spaceballs.
Which, I mean, they're Dark Helmet. Of course, they're exaggerated versions of the original costumes. But I do appreciate what they do with John Candy Barf and having him like in overalls with his name stitched on it.
Yeah.
And then finally, Snake Plissken, Escape from New York.
Yeah.
I have cosplayed as Snake. He wears like a spandex vest, which has zippers on the shoulders, which has zero functionality. and it's also not forgiving at all. So I have to be in really, really slim shape to wear this thing. He also has cargo pants that are apparently from the Russian army and impossible to find in the US. I don't know how the costume designer, Stephen Loomis was his name, who only really did stuff for Carpenter. He had also done The Fog. But that's a fun.
And you know what? Like maybe nobody but Kurt Russell could have pulled off that look too. Like he pulls it off. I mean, he makes it work.
No, he looks great.
He does.
Looks cool.
What about Buckaroo Banzai?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
The members of
thank
the
you.
band with their very
Well,
distinctive outfits.
But the outfits, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't the cowboy. I wasn't crazy about
Well, it
those
was weird, but it fit in with the
outfits.
weirdness. So, but I do like
Come-
Buckaroo's all his cool '80s / almost
Mhm.
early '90s suits he wore and stuff. Like, you know, that's kind of
yeah, but Sean, compared to like the Fifth Element, though, I mean,
no, it's not.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out, guys. So I'm not a fan.
Okay, all right.
Oh, V. What about V? The cool red outfits in V. Yeah,
Another
original V.
favorite costume.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah, very cool.
if I couldn't do the Exians, I might do a visitor costume.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
like the
like
what would
the
they call that? The pillow effect?
Padding,
or-
yeah, slight kind of subtle padding. Yeah,
You'd have
Yeah, I
to,
like
you'd have
that.
to walk around with like a stuffed guinea pig puppet to pretend like you're eating it.
That would be great.
that's true. That was a good idea.
Or just have
There
a
you go.
bag of actual guinea pigs and you just
Well, once again, guys, this has been great. Mark, thank you
has.
thank you
It's been a
so
good
much
one.
I
for
love it.
being with us. I mean, you
Oh, I
came up
love
with
it. Are you kidding?
great sci-fi outfits. So is there anything you're working on? What's new with you? What can our listeners, find out about you?
That's a great question. My podcast is on hiatus. I'm just ending 25 years of cartooning for the Half Moon Bay Review newspaper. this month.
really.
Wow.
Oh.
Yes. But I am working on a movie you guys would find interesting. This is it's a movie I started writing with Dana Carvey about 15 years ago. This is not the
Wow.
same one I've talked about before, by the way. This was a kind of a screwball comedy idea that we did the first act of it, and then he goes, I don't really like this project. And so we said, okay, so we moved on to something else. And then I found it recently, and I'm using it as an experiment to collaborate with AI.
Oh, wow.
Finish the
Interesting.
movie. And it's a movie where I'm trying to go to a throwback style of like an Abbott and Costello screwball comedy mixed with an invasion of the body snatchers, where the alien aspect is dead serious and really frightening. And then you've got these two idiots that inadvertently find themselves enmeshed in this adventure.
Interesting.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Are you gonna work into the plot that AI is helping you write this?
There is actually there is a dead character in the movie, the uncle of one of the two guys, who comes to life as a primitive AI that he programmed himself in the 1950s. And the AI helps them brainstorm how to beat the aliens.
Great.
Cool.
And the
Cool.
funniest thing
great.
is the AI I'm working with is really excited about that aspect of the movie.
Imagine that.
Yes.
Those wily devils.
That sounds cool.
Well, let us know when you get the funding because we're ready to go. We're,
Excellent. I want to use
whatever
all
you
guys.
need from Monster Party. You got the full cast
I
right
want to
here.
I want to use all four of you as members of the populace of Ricochet, Nevada, which is where it all takes place.
We're there. I've already
Nice.
done the research. I've made the costumes.
Excellent.
Let's greenlight this.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, what do you say we give a toast to our fabulous guest, Mark HERSHON, and future fashion.
Future.
Future fashion.
Time for a listener shout out.
Shout out.
Fabulous shout out.
What shout out are you wearing?
Matt, why don't you take it away?
Okay, well, a friend of the show, Tom Frank. You guys all remember Tom
Oh,
Frank.
yes, of
We
course.
interviewed him at Monster Paloozas. He's great. He's a wonderful artist. His daughter Miranda is also a great artist. And
Yes.
they're just lovely people. And they've turned us on to a lot of different things. Movies. He's a big toy collector. He collects jumbo machineders. And he's got this incredible collection, which that might lead to something in the future. But we'll discuss that another time. But he has a comic book series that he has been doing called Jumbo Titan X and the Great Robot Arms Race.
Ooh,
How much fun does that sound?
that sounds like fun, Matt.
It is. And so imagine like the Shogun Warriors or, Jumbo Machineders, those kind of robots
Yeah.
are the stars of this comic. And it involves, I can't give you too much because I want you to read the comic, but it involves giant robots, aliens, and a lot of fun. And so he has already done 2 issues of this comic, and he has just released issue 3. So if you want to get this series and you want to get back issues, all you got to do is you got to go to cwsbookstore.com. That's all one word, CWS Bookstore. And you can find all the issues. And then on top of it, he is currently working on a Jumbo Titan X. Now, that is the hero robot of his comic series. He is working on a Jumbo Titan X 8-inch soft vinyl toy.
Ooh.
Yes, coming very soon. So you're going to want to pick this thing up. You're going to want to read the comics, and once you read the comics, you're going to absolutely want this robot. It's a beautiful design. It's very colorful, and it's just the kind of thing that we like. And so to get information on this, you just got to go to @JMachinder, and let me spell this out. It's JMACHINDER on Instagram, and that's where you'll get updates and a purchase link to get this robot.
Nice.
So there you go. And we got to get Tom on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
He's one of us.
I think we should. Yeah, definitely.
We've had some nice interviews with him at cons, but we got to really probe his brain because I think he's an interesting cat. I really do.
Yep.
Well, we've talked a lot about future fashion, but if you want some Monster Party fashion in your future, there's an easy way to get it. Just go on our eBay store, which is called, you guessed it, Monster Party Store. And there you can find the Monster Party logo t-shirts, the legendary Monster Party logo cap. We've got Monster Party shot glasses.
Oh.
So you can raise a toast along with us at the end of each episode.
Yeah. Pretend it's Fashion Week.
The Monster Party cloth PPE mask, which is fashionable any time of year.
That's right.
Pandemic or no pandemic, it's something you'll want to wear to impress your friends.
Absolutely. And if you also happen to be a Patreon member and order from our Monster Party store, we will throw in free surprise goodies, courtesy of Jason Lindsay and Biff Bang Pow Toys and Ted Haynes, creature creator extraordinaire.
Everything they wear looks good on them.
Now, Matt, my head is just swimming with all of this science fiction costume. And I just somehow I do not retain anything about what this Patreon is all about. So can you please refresh my memory?
Unbelievable. Okay. Well, much in the way that a leather-clad Emma Peel tickled the fancy of a prepubescent Matt Weinhold, Patreon is a platform that will tickle your fancy with exclusive bonus content from Monster Party.
Ooh.
We're talking content that includes our special shows like Monster Party Masterpieces, where you can see our early film projects, and Larry's Toy Time, and James's Toy Time, and Sean's Toy Time, and the new breakout hit, Matt's Toy Time.
Yay!
Yay! And we've also got behind-the-scenes videos of our various convention appearances and our video diary of our trip to Japan, as well as vintage sci-fi and horror fiction edited by Monster Party's own Lyscarian, John Bordeaux. Yay, John!
Nice.
And that's just the tip of what Patreon has to offer, because I made a promise to only use the tip.
Wow. Well, this sounds fantastic, but I'm kind of saving my pennies to get a Will Wheaton Crusher t-shirt from eBay. So I don't know if I can afford this luxury.
Well, for the price you'd pay for the futuristic wax paper lederhosen I designed for Larry for his next high school reunion, you could become a Monster Party patron. And that price is $5. $5 a month.
What?
That's a bargain. You can't get Sean Connery's used diaper from Zardoz for that price.
So clean, maybe you could afford it.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's been around the old con, fetch a price.
Well, I'd like to close the deal. So how does one subscribe to this wonderful Patreon?
Well, all you got to do is you go to patreon.com, you go to Monster Party, you click join, And next thing you know, you'll be as happy as Logan 5 and Francis 7 with a couple of screamers.
And speaking of a couple of screamers, we are on social media. You can find us on Facebook at Monster Party TV, YouTube Monster Party TV, Twitter at Monster Party HQ, and now it's X Monster Party HQ. Also Instagram Monster Party HQ. And wherever you're listening to us, please take a moment and find a way to send us your review, your thoughts, your feelings, your innermost, deepest, darkest confessions about how much you love Monster Party, because we want to hear from you and we will read it on the air.
Yeah, and we'll not only read it on the air, we'll turn it into a provocative yet honorable collection for Klingon Fashion Week. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
And wear the fashions of the future.
And if you're not going to wear the slave Leia costume, we will. Mark, where are you broadcasting from?
I'm actually in Marin County, California. When I say basement, I mean just the downstairs. But
You are in your mother's basement.
I'm in my mother's basement.
Wow.
Oh,
In
Mark,
the fruit cellar.
how far are you fallen, sir?
Sad.
I used to call
Delightful
from my high-end Sausalito home, and then my palatial Grass Valley digs, and now I'm in my mother's basement.
Hey, you know what?
Making you some bologna sandwiches right now, or what's happening?
Look,
Yes.
here, Mark, the important thing
She's
is that you
she's a
get
great
up
lady.
you get up in the morning and get back at it. The world is your oyster.
That's right.
You just gotta, sometimes life like strikes you down and you're moving furniture all over the place and your back is killing you and you feel like, what the hell am I doing? But you know what? You'll bounce back.
Thank you, Larry.
You'll bounce
Thank you.
back.
Thank
I
you.
have faith in
I have
you.
a
man.
feeling that this is a tad more personal than it was intended.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
probably is.
Yeah, I'm just working down here in the Bay Area, so I crash at my mom's house. That's all it is.
Wow,
That's all
that's
it is.
adorable.
I still have my home and my beautiful wife and all that.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
I
Really?
would stay
Really?
I would stay with my mom where she lives right now, but she lives in a home,
Oh,
and so
You're not
it'd be a
wel-
little
you're not wel-
uncomfortable. I just
you're not
slide
wel-
in next to her. It'd be great though because I wouldn't fall out of bed because of the the hospital rails.
sure.
That's true.
Awesome, and then a crane comes and takes me out. Fantastic.
But you might be in the bed next to her, and then someone might give you medication, Matt. Maybe that's a good
Oh,
thing.
you know what? See, you are a glass half full. That's
am.
what you are.
I am.
That's what I always do. I just walk around with my mouth open around there, looking confused. Where's the cafeteria? And then hopefully somebody, pops something in. Oh, that works. Yes. I'm 102.
Oh, that's delicious.
But surely we joke here because we're a bunch of young, sprightly guys
That's what we
here.
are. Yeah.
Yes.
We're
look at us.
like no.
Yes. When I look at you, Larry, the word sprightly comes to mind.
Right.
Well,
yes.
it's like hey, we're in the now. We're
Yes.
in
We're
tune
in
with
the now.
film,
Yes.
the films of today.
Yes,
We're
the now.
happening. We're
James
hip.
Jonas.
Happening.
He's very
Happening.
now.
We're hip.
We're hip.
hip.
We're happening.
Nice going, Unger. Hey, Larry, can you possibly? Is there a way that you could be a little louder on your audio?
I can't believe you're asking me to be louder.
Maybe it's just you have to just maybe
It just sounds a little
dial in the
distant
mic a
or-
little closer. Maybe
I don't know.
Well,
there you go.
that is
Is it
better.
It's
That is
better.
better.
Yeah,
Is
is
my
everybody
level,
else-
is my
how's
level
everyone
okay? It's hard to
Your
tell.
level's great.
Pretty
I don't
good,
know
yeah.
what's going on with Larry
Yeah.
Strode, but you
You know,
are
Fantastic.
fantastic.
How about you know what? Maybe it's better that I'm not as loud tonight.
Well, that's
You know.
People will lean in and want to hear you for once, Larry, which will be interesting.
Oh,
Is that what's gonna happen?
I've been, there have been listeners say, "Hey, it's too much of a
Hey,
Larry
hey."
show," or why don't you let the other people talk? So
Really?
Yeah.
I never heard that.
I thought that was
a
me.
listener say that.
Wow, interesting. Well, those were my comments I've been leaving on
Yeah.
on iTunes and Spotify.
I remember that Huffington Post article that just said less Larry. And that was it. Succinct, to the point,
Yes.
effective.
Fantastic.
So,
How
you
are
know,
the rest
just
of you guys? Shawn Sheridan, you're working now, or
No,
taking
I
a
just
break?
just finished a gig, so I'm on the lookout. It's
Taking a break.
So yeah, well,
James Gonis still working?
involuntarily taking a break. Yes.
Well, hey, sometimes it's nice.
Yeah.
You have an excuse. You can say,
I'm
I
actually,
can't do anything.
Remember,
Mercy.
Shawn, sometimes when God closes the door, he then says, get the fuck out.
Exactly.
God's been locking some doors in my case.
Yeah, a lot of barricading.
There seems to be like a bureau in front of it and a couch.
Yeah.
All right. Already having a good time. Mark, it's always great to have you on the show.
It's always great to be
Yes.
with you guys. I love it.
it's also
Yeah.
great, Mark, when you throw in a review or you say, hey, those Monster Party guys are just great. You got
I
to listen
agree.
to those guys.
I agree. You know what? My podcast has been on hiatus for the last 10 months, Larry, and the vulture.com people haven't given me any reviews for 6 months now.
Oh,
Wow.
All right. So
Yeah,
highlights for children, maybe?
They kicked all of us to the curb, but I will review you somehow, somewhere,
Cool.
and you guys will get all the plaudits. It's going to be fantastic.
Look,
in
Mark,
grit, maybe.
Look, Mark, you're a happening guy. You've got fans that follow
Happening.
you, and
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm sure someone like you would say, I think Monster Party they should be nominated by the Rondos. That's
Yes.
that's what I think. we should
Get
do.
out there. Go to your
Yes.
fans.
Okay.
That
Okay.
Chinese dragon tail of ladies that you have following you. Get them.
Oh
Get 'em
man.
involved.
Yeah, but you guys are doing DVD commentary stuff and
Oh,
all
yeah.
sorts. You
I
guys are
know.
like on fire.
We are on fire.
Yes.
And not only
Or as
that,
the kids
Mark,
would say,
Fire.
we are fire.
You are fire. Exactly.
and look, and we're still going to Monsterpalooza. We're going to have a table yet again.
Yes, that's
Unbelievable.
right.
Fans can miss. We'll be doing a show,
You should come
and
down.
people could.
I would love to.
People can bring the Blu-rays, and we'll autograph them for free.
We got
free.
to. We
For
got to
free.
get you guys into the SF Sketch Fest next year.
Yeah, how does that
Be
happen?
cool.
They do
Tell us what to do.
podcasts all the time. I
Really?
know all the producers. I'll talk to them. We'll do.
Tell me.
Huh.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I know some of them, but I don't know what the process is, and I don't know.
You
how
were
this...
on my podcast at the Sketch Fest one year.
Yeah, but all I had
Remember?
to do was just show up. I didn't have
That's
to.
right.
There was
No. I'll handle all the details.
You could.
Mark,
That would
Go
be
talk
lovely.
to some people.
Yes, and Mark, as you know, one of our co-hosts, Mr. Weinhold here, he's Mr. Sketch. Mr. Sketch.
You know what?
Oh,
Yes,
that's what we call him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's my maiden name.
No joke, man. No joke.
You don't have to be two sketches to be a podcast in the Sketch Fest, though. That's the best thing. And you guys have been around forever. So
We
you
have,
guys deserve to be there.
I think
Yeah, that'd be cool.
we've earned it.
I believe so.
Yeah,
we could
totally.
put together a little presentation that I think would amuse and
Please the
tantalize.
Yeah.
road trip.
terrify.
Yeah. Terrify, unnerve.
And Mark, I know you've been busy, you've been traveling a lot and stuff. And so just to let you know, not only is it the commentaries and Monsterpalooza and doing an episode every couple of weeks, but it's like we've been on, at least three of us, Collector's Call.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
Mhm.
I mean,
I've seen the
pretty big.
postings. I've heard the reviews. You guys are
Yes.
beloved.
Lisa
Yeah.
Wetchell.
I could, you know what?
She
I could make
loves us.
18 calls and get Lisa Welchel on the line. That's
She
that's the
loves
kind of
us.
power I have. None of this is usable.
No.
Except for when Mark said, "Hi guys."
we're just bullshitting.
Everything else after that.
We're just
Right.
bullshitting.
All right.
But we'll use
Absolutely.
some of it. Anyway, hey, before we go on with the show, I just want to point out something. So behind Larry is the very special Godzilla heat breath figure
Okay.
That is maybe one of the most awesome toys of all time.
Oh my
Now,
gosh. Look
Is
at
that the legendary Godzilla?
That is the legendary. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the legendary series, but that's to me the best part of the legendary
That is
series.
nice.
That toy, because there's a thing.
Rubbery.
It's all rubber.
Cool.
It walks. The fins light up, and
Mhm.
then it will roar. And then you put
Wow.
water in the top of its head.
Holy cow.
It'll do this like water vapor that makes it look like it's spitting.
Oh
heat
my
breath.
Oh my
And
god. Now,
it's
now who makes that? Who makes that?
Who does that, Larry?
It's
Is that Hasbro or who is
no,
that?
it's not Hasbro.
Jada, right?
Jada
Jada.
Toys.
Well,
Jada
they
Toys.
must hate Larry because
Why?
it's already out of the box.
No, it's
No.
well, it
Well, it's
came
kind of
out
like right in
It's in the
between.
box.
because I got one, and then I helped Larry get one, and
He did.
just a very little help, but I got one, and of course, as soon as it got home, I put it together. Like I took it out of the
course.
box carefully. I had to see that thing work immediately, and then the tail wouldn't get on correctly,
Oh,
so I had to take
man.
it back
Oh,
and then get another one. Yes, yeah,
No.
you heard.
No.
unbelievable.
But yet, there it is behind Larry, still in the box. So I guess it's just going to stay there, right? Or
Well, I'm at work, I mean,
well, you can take it home.
Can't take it out at work, Matt. Come on.
Did it sign
There's
an
rules.
agreement?
There's bylaws. There's rules.
I even still have the box it came in. It was sent to me.
Ooh, wow.
You're not
something-
really going to keep that, are you? Because that's just a generic Target box.
I was
Yes,
gonna say,
but
can you get this at like Target or Toys or
No,
Target? Or
or,
something?
or,
Yes,
or it
Target.
go online, guys,
Yes.
because
Okay.
there's already people on eBay selling it for
Overselling,
2
yeah.
to 3 times, and it makes me angry.
But what you do is you go to an individual store. You like Google an individual Target store and see if they have it in stock. And then you can just order it directly from the store.
Oh,
So you can either go and pick it up or you could do like Larry did and have the thing delivered. So,
Cool.
and you're going to save so much money. It's still retail.
Yeah,
wow.
What's
All
the
right,
retail
that's-
price?
$59.
59 bucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nothing
That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
for all the joy that you get. And it's like a show every night.
It's a remote control thing.
Remote
Right.
control.
I mean, come on.
Come on, guys.
Now,
I mean-
did they also do a comp?
No,
That's
You know
remote
what?
control.
well, I anticipate they will. I don't know. I mean, I don't
It's a
know if
tough
anything
one,
would come
though.
out of his mouth. But
Yeah.
the funny
Bananas?
thing is, as you
put
guys
bananas in
know,
the back and it comes out.
as you guys know, I have the original from the 1970s, the battery operated metal version, which
could make them fight.
walks or I could put them next to each other. I'm gonna have to get another one. I have to order another one that I could take out of the box, and
Wow.
and I could have them next to each other. What? What's
Because
wrong
it's
with
just
that?
it's just well, I mean, hey, whatever makes you happy, honestly.
Is
But
it-
Wait,
but
are
you
you two
have-
guys?
you have
Wait a
this-
minute. Are
you
you
have
are you
this-
two are you two guys married? Whatever makes you happy. I've used that phrase.
I know,
so
really,
many
that's
times.
what it's become.
So many times.
That's what it's become. It is. It's like this marriage, and now I'm at the point where it's like I give up, and because he has and apparently this like in his couch or something, he has this well of money. Like he must be running meth
Either that
something.
or huge amounts on credit cards. I'm guessing it's
Because
one or
that's
the other.
the reason
right?
I don't buy 2 of everything for one, because I know as soon as I die, then someone has to deal with all this shit. But and then
just
on
don't
top of that, dear Sean, put myself in a Godzilla body. I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but 2, it's like to buy 2 of everything. That's a wealth that I've never had. So
Go ahead.
I salute
say
you,
it.
Larry. Whatever you're doing,
You're not.
investments are great.
No,
You've
no,
got money that you can just peel.
no,
I'll take 2 of those.
Go ahead. I'm waiting for Matt to say. Larry, it's just ridiculous. You just get one. Just enjoy one. Take it out of the
If
box.
you like
and
it though,
enjoy it.
if that's your jam,
Yeah.
then
Well, maybe
what can I
will.
say?
I like how Sean and James just stay out of your way. You guys have been doing this for so long. They
I'm
just know, you
sorry.
know what?
I'm sorry,
Let's just
guys.
be
We're done.
quiet.
This is enough.
Let's just
I
be
just wanted
quiet,
to.
and eventually, one of them will run out of steam, and the other one will just go. Start
What eventually happens is Sean goes into a rage and goes, "Stop it! I can't take this anymore.
Oh,
And I don't like-
I yearn to see that.
Can't we have a nice Thursday
done.
for once?
I don't like it when Sean gets angry.
I like it.
I don't like
I
it
think
when
it's
Sean
sexy.
gets
You
angry.
wouldn't like him when he's angry.
Yeah, it's like the Hulk.
All right.
Um,
Hey, so
Except
So
still,
this is
except
this
still
is
that
this has
note,
been
colored
great.
and
This is
skinny.
great. This has been great.
maybe we
Really
should
has.
start this.
Yeah, thanks
Okay,
for
I'll
hanging
talk to
with
you.
us,
I'll see
Mark.
you guys last
Yeah,
time.
you see
All
him
right,
later.
great. You're good. You're always great. We all know what we're doing here, right? We know it's
Look at my
wardrobe. it's-
background. Look at my background. I made this
See?
special
Look
for
at
you
the
guys.
outfits.
Yes.
Never even made
So
a connection.
it's we're calling it future fashion. It's the same thing.
Fashion
It's-
singular or fashions plural, which is better?
what do you guys think? Mark,
Future-
you're the name guy. Future
which sounds better?
fashions or future fashion?
Future fashion, I think, is the way to go.
Fashion, singular.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, I
Because that's
agree.
an entirety. Fashions
Yes.
are individual things.
I think. Yep.
Ah,
I
there
was
you
going
go.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did we dabble with uniforms ever?
Yeah, well, I believe because I think it was even called. We did a Patreon only episode a while
Mm.
back with Mark Pitta, and I think it was called Space Suits and
Space
Uniforms.
suits, right?
And uniforms, I think we touched on uniforms. So, and if we have some little bit crossover, I think
Yeah,
that's fine. That was a
exactly. It's no
Patreon
big deal.
episode, but I think this would be
Exactly.
more like
Yeah.
this is more like everyday, wardrobe attire in the future, whether it's like at work or hanging out at home, going out for a drink with friends. It's just like
I want to talk about
what you
Star Trek.
wear.
Like,
Yeah, of course,
The Star Trek: The Next Generation regular civilian stuff is fucking epic.
James, are you
All
good
right.
with that?
Well, I got dibs on
Can't
the
wait.
first
Bring it.
worst sci-fi one. I want,
All right, we'll
Okay,
start
yeah.
with you.
Yeah,
you
there's some
guys are gonna
interesting
be
ones.
all over this one, so I want to get there
I'm
first.
sure we will. Yes.
Hey, and
Okay.
and this one's kind of a free flowing
It's
one, right?
loosey-goosey.
Do you want to
It's
kind of just bounce back and forth, not necessarily be like, okay,
Not
your
round
turn, my
robin?
turn.
I love
Just
it.
We'll
I love
start
run
it
around.
off with Mark, and then we'll just kind of
Okay.
see where it goes.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Okay, so I think you guys are all in agreement that amongst either the worst or
You're
the
not going to
best.
tell us now.
Oh no, we're not ready. Oh, we
Wait,
haven't
haven't
started yet.
started.
We have
hold
to
on, we have to
start
do our
the
intro,
start.
No,
right?
start the
Okay.
show. I was so in the flow.
We can edit that
already.
part within the later
No,
part.
I
Yeah,
thought
well,
we were
we-
already in the flow. It was just I'll
We'll
be quiet.
phonetically
You guys get going.
Eventually include you in the show.
So, Mark, like we've done before in the
No.
past, it's like Matt's going to do his little creepy
Yeah.
voice.
No, no,
we
no,
introduce the
No, no, come on.
show.
He's got
Come
it.
on,
He's
come
got it.
on.
He's got it. He's got
I
it.
got it. I got it. I got it.
Right.
All right, here we
All
go.
right.
Ready?
Yep.
And who's doing the introduction?
I am doing the introduction. He's
Cool.
my friend, and that's
Yeah.
it.
And you're going to make it big.
No, I'm
No,
not. No,
He's gonna do it really
I'm gonna
weak and
phone it
mousy
in.
and
I'm gonna phone it in. I'm doing it from some comfy cushions. I've been huffing gas right now, so it's gonna be great.
And Mark, we're all going to go about 80 minutes around there.
Depending
worries,
on your
I'm-
performance.
I am
Yes.
I'm with you until you slam your laptop shut.
Don, get ready.
That's good.
You guys wear all black t-shirts, so you guys have your own thematic thing
Yeah.
True.
that
True.
goes on, which is very cool. And the listeners don't even get to maybe they sense it. Maybe they can sense
At the photo shoots, they can take us in.
the costume unity that happens here.
It gets us into character.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like inhabiting the makeup when you're, working through makeup. That's how we do it. We put on the
Exactly.
shirts and all of a sudden we just come alive.
Yeah, for me, it just takes off 5 pounds.
It is slimming.
Well,
it is a
yes.
slimming look. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.